find it. It's not what I wanted to do. Good evening, ladies and gents, wherever you may be around the world, and welcome to Splendid Isolation number 263. As always, to give people time to join the stream, I am going to start off.
Take up the white man's burden, send forth the best ye breed. Go bind your sons to exile, to serve your captives' need. To wait in heavy harness on flooded folk and wild. Your new gods sullen peoples have devil and have child. Take up the white man's burden, in patience to abide, to veil the threat of terror and check the show of pride. By open speech and simple, 100 times made plain, to seek another's profit and work another's gain. Take up the white man's burden, the savage wars of peace. Fill full the mouth of famine and bid the sickness cease. And when your goal is nearest, the end for all the sword, what's love that heed and folly? Bring all your hopes to naught. Take up the white man's burden, no tawdry rule of kings, but toil of serf and sweeper, the tale of common things. The ports ye shall not enter, the roads ye shall not tread. Go make them with your living and mark them with your dead. Take up the white man's burden and reap his old reward. The blame of those ye better, the hate of those ye guard. The cry of those ye humor are slowly towards the light. Why brought ye us from bondage, our loved Egyptian night? Take up the white man's burden, ye dare not stoop to less, nor call too loud on freedom to cloak your weariness. By all ye cry or whisper, by all ye leave or do, the silent, sullen people shall wail gods and you. Take up the white man's burden, have done with childish days, the lightly proffered laurel, the easy ungrudged praise. Come proud to search your manhood through all of thankless years. No age with dear bought wisdom, the judgment of your peers. Take off the white man's burden,
And that was, of course, Chris Gard. If you like really good music, go and check out Chris Gard's YouTube channel, and you can also follow him on X on Twitter, where we are also live as I speak. Okay, guys, first of all, apologies. We started about 4 minutes late. That was my fault. I woke up late, so I was running a bit late. It's going to get far worse for me in a few weeks when I'm going to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning. At the moment, I only have to get up at sort of 6:45 or something like that. But it will be 5 o'clock in the morning in a couple of weeks' time, which I'm not really looking forward to. But anyway, main topic this week, I suppose, is that Restore Britain were the Electoral Commission has passed them, and they are now officially a political party.
Yep. And this is funny because one of the most common attack lines you saw was, they're not really a party, they're just Rupert Lowe's little club. Well, they are now. So that completely destroys that attack line.
Yeah, it does. And I mean, I've got to say, when I look at the impromptu polls that people are doing on X, on Twitter, when, people are asked to select their preferred next prime minister, and you always will, or mostly you'll find the Rupert Lowe's on there and Nigel Farage's. Rupert Lowe is coming out much, much on top of Nigel Farage. Long way ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the national ones, he's about 7%, and Farage is maybe like 15 or 19, sort of. So, all very quickly, he's at half of where Nigel is. And this is after, Nigel's been around forever. He's got a lot more recognition. And
Rupert Lowe made his announcement about forming Restore Britain as a party, a month ago, maybe?
Yeah. That's when it's really kicked off. Because obviously it was his movement thing beforehand. But I think a lot of people just didn't really see the point. But now you're seeing like a big uptake. Now that, okay, this is actually going to be something that could do some stuff.
Yeah, the next mark is going to be, and I genuinely think it will be when Restore start polling above Reform. That'll be the next marker, and we'll see where the land is there, because that'll really show the Reform cultists at that stage.
I can imagine Farage just rage quitting at that point.
It'll be interesting to see. I mean, the other thing we should mention is that I think it was a week or 10 days ago that Restore Britain overtook the Conservative Party in terms of memberships.
Yeah.
So, that's worth a mention as well. Their growth has been phenomenal.
It's the fastest growing party in UK history, or British history, should I say.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
People have been saying to me that when I refer to Reform, I must always make sure I put UK, in the Morgoth sense of UK,
Yeah.
I'm still saying UK, and I'm trying to stop myself. I caught myself just doing it then. So for years, I've been saying UK. And,
yeah, it still creeps in with me sometimes as well.
Well, I like the fact that it's Restore Britain. I think that's good. I noticed that Rupert Lowe has also announced a national billboard campaign. That's going to be good. That's going to be good at getting to normies, I think.
Yeah, like I mentioned, Farage rage quitting. Of course, the other thing he did recently was his little fallout with YouGov polling, and it's laughable because he was because the raw data gave him a couple of extra points, up from 23 to 25%. It's like, whoa, good going, Nigel. But the raw data doesn't translate to, this isn't a popularity contest. This is for general elections where you need to apply different stuff to it. And YouGov has been, they've done some dodgy polls with some stuff, like trying to push government policy, but their general election stuff has generally been very accurate because you can actually be tested on that. You can't be tested on, do 73% of people support whatever? So
it does go to show that Nigel just see it as a popularity contest.
Yeah.
It explains why he's got all these Butlins-esque stage shows all the time. He wants to be a rock star or something.
Yeah, and it's always the I think someone in some sort of pollster said, it's always telling when politicians start attacking the polls rather than because they're going down in the polls. So it's the polls' fault. Not what they're doing. No, it's the pollsters. They're the ones to blame.
Well, he's going for the centre ground. He should be getting more popular.
Everybody that I see keeps saying that Farage and Reform should be on about 30% now, and they're not.
It should be more.
Yeah,
I think they should. They should be like 40%.
Look at the state of the government. Look at the state of Starmer's government, and the opposition can't get above 30%.
Just to draw comparison, and this is like if people cast their minds back to 2010, 2011, and I was in Scotland when this happened because I was living in Aberdeen at the time briefly, and you had the rise of this under Alex Salmond. You had the SNP, and for whatever you say about them, and yes, there was a large, global and national and international effort by certain elites to push the SNP as a separatist party and all that sort of stuff. That was very much the case, but they did have like genuine guys on the ground who believed in what they were, doing, and they were very organized and very capable. And I saw that from firsthand. And they got 50% of the vote, near enough. They won majorities. And most of they were biting into majorities, Labour vote, but Lib Dem vote as well there, and that hence they had like this massive wave of success both in their local elections and the national election as well 5 years later, and that is sort of what Reform should be able to replicate, and they're not, and they're sort of like they're sort of going backward now. They're like in their like mid 20% of the vote,
about 25%.
And I've sort of been delving into the copium dens of some of the reform stands who have been as well who has just sort of gone off reservation to delusional land, sort of, and they're sort of like channeling some sort of bizarre Candace Owens sort of next week Harry and Khadib's going to claim astral projection is what did Farage or something like that at this rate. But what you're seeing here is Reform. They brought in a bunch of scumbag Tories who have foreign allegiances and hate this country and have actively destroyed this country in their last government. And now the layman, the British layman, they can see that. I mean, and the thing was, the argument by said person I mentioned and others, which is terminally online, every single Reform supporter has a Facebook. Every single one of them has some form of social media where they've been brabbiting for years of how the Tories have allowed mass migration under the Boris wave and other ills, and also have been culpable to the two-tier justice system as well as Labour with Keir Starmer. And the thing is, when you're trying to and because basically Farage just sort of like spat in the face. Reformers spat in the face of those people, just said, well, you're just terminally online. I think the most ironic thing coming from fucking Matt Goodwin, who tweets at like every 5 fucking seconds, day and night.
He's got a book to sell though.
And he's
who is not online a lot of the time these days? I mean, I think it was Lotus Eaters that pointed out even middle-aged mums spend a fair amount of time online these days.
My 95-year-old grandmother is probably like the only person at this rate.
Well, you say that, but my mum's got a friend who's, I think she's like 76 or something, with dementia, right? With dementia, and she's on Facebook. So, yeah,
that lady, your mother's friend, this one in the 70s with dementia, is probably more coherent than Harrian and all the other fucking Copian den shitheads on social media at the moment.
She would definitely be more. She would certainly have better comprehension than Harrian, but that's a very low bar.
It's also funny because during the last general election, the people who are doing the terminally online stuff now, they were all going about how great Reform's online game was. So, we got all the memes going. Yeah, it's great. But now, oh no, online stuff doesn't matter.
Yeah, it is funny, isn't it? The Reform UK love all the online stuff when they're winning, and they're not now. I think Rupert Lowe's got a lot of good young chaps around him, and their online games are a lot more switched on than Reform.
I see. Just to circle back to Matt Goodwin, what's this with his knockoff Pat Buchanan book? Like, what the hell is this? The Suicide in Britain or whatever. It's like, I want to be like Biff from Back to the Future, saying like, hello, think, Goodwin, think. We've had this book for fucking over 30 years. Yeah, we know. Welcome to the party. But the thing is,
AI. You could also mention Peter Hitchens' book, The Abolition of Britain. Also very similar.
Yeah, or the Cameron Delusion as well.
Yep.
Both those books, Cameron Delusion and the Britain. It's this. It both precedes themselves, and they are completely, highlight what is wrong with the modern British system, and also why, and this has been by a lot of people from Reform. Been a few people who have, quit Reform and everything, and they've all, whether they be councillors on the local level who had to coordinate with the central office, they've all said the same thing, that they've got no plan. And I actually believe that. I think if Farage was to come in, he won't have a plan, and he would actually probably play like a vanguard role of accelerating the worst aspects of this, the worst aspects of the British state, to such a level, you'd have even more immigration, you'd have even more ritualistic humiliation. I mean, hell, I wouldn't even put past Farage if he would, sell off the Falkland Islands to fucking Argentina or something, because Melee's based or some crap like that.
The feeling I've long had with Farage is that if he got in, he would say, oh my God, Labour have just left us with such a bad economy, so we're going to need to bring in lots of elite talent from abroad to fix it. I can just
open the floodgates to even more Indians. Yes, that'd be a great idea. And did you guys, just while AI reminds me, did you guys notice that the EU and Cyprus are talking about Britain getting out Cyprus? I know that AI would know about this because AI was born there. So
So what's happened is the Greek Cypriots have just turned out to be the. I'm listening. If you're Greek Cypriot and you're listening to this, I do apologise for the next sentence I'm going to say, but quite frankly, they are probably the second. You can probably guess who first. The most despicable people on the planet are, but they are the second most ungrateful, disgusting, wretched race of people on the planet. Okay, they do. Quite frankly, the Turks. They deserve the Turks to wipe them aside at this point. They fucking deserve it. The most ungrateful people. The reason why they're able to have their sort of kebabs and the smashing plates every 5 fucking seconds is because of those sovereign bases. back in the 70s when Turkey invaded. The only reason
That was the only reason Turkey didn't take the whole island over. Absolutely.
The only reason why those couscous puffs get to do what they do now is because of those sovereign bases. And what have they done? They ran off to the EU, who then now conspire and put pressure on the British government, pressure depending on how you frame it, because Stalin would probably given anyway, but they're putting pressure to hand over the bases, to EU, NATO, Cyprus, God knows what. Now, because we don't have a functioning navy, I mean, hell, if I buy probably like 2 more rowing boats, I'll probably have a bigger navy than the British Navy at this point, and a better functioning one at this rate. And they are conspiring to for that to go. And also, because the sovereign base is there, we do protect NATO. We protect Europe, the people who are again stabbing us in the back. Quite frankly, and this is my view, if Cyprus and the NATO countries in Europe get wasted by an Iranian exit missile, the fuckers deserve it, quite frankly. And also the Greek Cypriots, they deserve to be taken over by the Turks, and they deserve to be enslaved and have the whole fucking full Monty. They're most ungrateful fucking scumbags on the planet. They were scumbags when I was there, and
let's
fuck them all to hell.
let's remember in the 50s. There were Greek terrorists on Cyprus who used to attack British soldiers when Britain ran the whole island. There were EOKA terrorists who used to attack the British Army there.
Oh yeah, I mean, literally, the Greek Cypriots are just the pure embodiment of good little servants when the time arises. They were like it with, they were like it with the Venetians. They were with it with the Ottomans. They were with it with us for some point. I mean, they're just they are pure servants at the end of the day. They are pure servants. So
yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I mean, their crown bases, their British overseas territory, isn't that easy to give them up. But then, we've seen what Starmer will do with the British Indian Ocean territory and the various background moves he's making about Gibraltar. So, Starmer is completely is a cowardly traitor and will give up anything. So what chance the Brits have got of hanging on to the crown bases, I don't know. And everything that AI said about the Royal Navy is true. The Royal Navy has not been as small as it is today until just after the Armada was the last time it was this small. In the early 1600s.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, I mean, the only thing that money-grabbing twat of a Greek Cypriot president said in an interview, I think it was yesterday, which was relatively true, is that these bases are, like many bases, relics of an imperial age, and that is true. It is a relic of our empire, but that is why Britain needs to have a decent sizable navy, a capable air force and military, but particularly navy. And we haven't got it. And the world is seeing that. We've handed over sovereignty a few weeks ago in Gibraltar. Half of it, we've halved it with Spain. I reckon the sovereign bases will go soon. I reckon they'll be handed over or something like that. And this time next year, I imagine the Falklands will probably be handed over as well.
Well, the Argentinians are building up their military again as we speak. So Britain needs to pull its finger out if it's going to protect those. And also remember, there are now 4,000 people on the Falklands, not the 1,800 that were there in 1982.
Yeah, and the French and the Hellenic Navy aren't going to sail down to the Falklands to guard the waters down there. I mean,
no, they're not.
I mean, so it is looking pretty bleak. the people. I mean, quite frankly, the people who I like to know what genuine people in the Navy and the armed forces think of this. I know many of them have been saying for years that our military is a total joke, and it is a terrible joke of that. I know this has been going.
I can tell you what one officer in the Navy thinks about it because of my son. But I would first of all hasten to say that he never tells me anything in the least bit secret. He's very much up on his operational security, and he never tells me anything secret. But he has told me that not only officers like himself, but also lots of the senior NCOs in the Navy are just they're aghast at the state the Navy's in at the moment. They just can't believe it.
There's one thing, manpower. Like you can have, because manpower you can quickly bring up. You know, you can just, if we were in a big war, you can quickly conscript a lot of men into the battle. But stuff like ships,
but not
that takes a long time to build.
Yeah,
you know,
but
like
even with the men, Farim, and we were talking about this a little bit last week. Even with the men, you're talking 8-9 months to train even a basic infantry soldier. And if you've got some specialized job on a warship, trust me, it will take longer than that.
I mean, if we were smart, you could have it more like Switzerland or Finland does, where their population is very well trained, but they only have like a small amount as active military. But they've got a well-trained population that can.
Very hard to do that with a Navy, though.
But like I was saying,
even an Air Force, it's very hard to do that.
It's very funny you say that, Theron, because I was listening this week to like I go for my sort of like to bring me up, you know, to get me out of the black-pilled mode. I listened to like a Bowden speech, and I was listening to one, and I can't remember which one, but he was talking about I think it might be like Western society, the Western world biting back, or something like that. And he was talking about how many at that time, so this like the early 2000s, he was saying that many British generals and those in the senior and the armed forces actually didn't like the idea of having their soldiers stationed in Britain because it made them soft, that the society was so feminized, so weakened, that actually them being in bases overseas, you know, at that particular time, prevented, you know, the worst aspects of modernity of modern Britain. Yeah, he does. Yeah, he does. Some of his speeches are really good, even listening back, particularly with the Iran stuff more recently, because there's a lot of bits that he was able to foresee many years ago.
I'll tell you something else, AI, with the stationing troops overseas and also having warships, doing tours overseas. It actually helps recruitment. You know, people don't join the armed forces to pissball about in Aldershot. They don't join the armed forces to sail around the North Sea. You know, it's not a very pleasant sea to sail in at the best of times, to be honest. They join the Royal Navy or the British Army to get a good posting. You know, if you're in the Royal Navy, you want to get sent to the West Indies or the Pacific. If you're in the army, you want to go to Borneo for jungle training or something like that, or Belize for jungle training. You don't want to pissball around in the home counties, you know.
Yeah, you don't want to go to Fort George or Fast Lane or something like that.
Yeah, I know. Stephen Chat's saying we should keep going on now. Well, the thing was, I mean, you have other parts of Belize and Malta that wanted to stay part of us, but Howard Wilson forced them to go anyway. So,
yep, that's entirely true, and that was true of a number of smaller colonies. Swaziland, for example, didn't want independence. You know, they're too small, basically.
Nigeria didn't really want independence. They were sort of forced into it, and when it happened, the reason, I mean, because of the Christian-Muslim split, that was one big reason why many Nigerians didn't want it originally, because it was like, well, hold on, we can't, effectively you're saying we have to have a country 50-50.
Yeah, so the database was saying that in the US Army, people join for education. Thing is, you don't get that in the British Armed Forces.
No.
Yeah, you don't get American servicemen basically get free college, free university after their service, and that doesn't happen in Britain. Sadly, it should, but it doesn't.
Imagine being stationed in Italy, U.S. Army.
Well, that was some American politician tried to claim that he was Tim Walsh. Thank you. He tried to claim he was involved in the.
I was deployed.
The war against terror. He was deployed. Yeah, he was. He was deployed to Italy, for fuck's sake. I mean, give me a break. People pay good money to go to Italy as tourists, you know.
Yeah, well, I will say Tim Walsh. I mean, I don't know. Perhaps he went to war in the kitchen. I don't know. Perhaps.
Yeah. He slipped on a pasta roll or something. Where's my Purple Heart? God damn it!
One of the things he did, apparently he does actually got some sort of award-winning taco recipe or something. And I remember in his campaign with Kamala, he's going, "Oh, I'm just a bumbling white man. I don't know about spices and stuff."
Someone's saying he got out immediately when they were actually going to deploy him. I wouldn't be surprised if that's true. I know that with women in the military, when they're going to be deployed, they all get pregnant, supposedly, because obviously they don't deploy pregnant women, so they all just say they're pregnant, you know, even if they're not.
Well,
because of course they don't do anything to them, and they don't do anything to them if they don't.
Remember when they were when they sort of brought out that pregnant flight suit for pregnant women a couple of years ago or something? So that pregnancy excuse, that's only going to last so long.
Yeah,
Hollywood seems to love sticking pregnant women in fight scenes.
Yeah, it's just
with
that silly movie. Yes.
I mean, let's be honest. The people in Hollywood. I mean, not to go all like schizo religious prophecy mode, but apparently that's what's been that's what the world leaders like to talk about. Some world leaders like to talk about now. But I mean, why is it Hollywood love to sacrifice pregnant women?
No.
I'll just leave it with
I wonder why, eh? Anyway, but then let us bear in mind, and I'm sure this is a topic we might talk about a little bit more later on. Britain has just passed a law where women can have their babies terminated up to the day of birth.
Yes, Stella Creasy is the main one for that, and I can't say online what I would want to happen. What I would want restore Britain, the government, to have happen to her. But let's just say it'll be legal. Like, I absolutely detest that woman.
I mean, yeah. I mean, quite frankly, that. Do you know what's incredible with Stella Creasy is there is that physiognomy of that sort of like woman, you know. We all know what we're talking about. You know what I'm talking about here. Those particular women should be chained up somewhere.
We don't support violence on this channel, guys.
Somewhere nice and comfy.
Yes, exactly, and warm, very warm.
No, maybe a shower. I'm joking.
No, you just gotta think of that Victorian doctor she had in Resiscord who was looking at scoliosis women. You just gotta think of that.
But
I did see that. Yes, I saw that one. Can I just also mention, just before we get off this topic of women and the military, and get back to more British stuff? Did anyone notice that the New Zealand lesbian, she's actually British, but she moved to New Zealand, and she's a lesbian woman, and they put her in charge of one of the most expensive warships New Zealand had, and she ran it aground and sank it. And she is now going to face a court-martial. And it was interesting because I was watching a stream about her, and they've now released like the orders she gave over the tannoy and what have you to her crew. And she twice told them, as the ship is sinking, she twice told them to use the heads That's the toilets on a ship, by the way, guys. To use the toilets before they abandon ship. I'm not joking. That's what she was telling them.
That time when the Suez Canal got blocked by a woman steering a ship. Was it a woman guiding that ship that got trapped in the Suez Canal?
I don't think so.
Oh, that Evergreen ship, was it?
I think they were Indian. I think they were Indians.
Almost all of those big container ships are Indians now.
I mean, with that New Zealand woman, that stupid bitch should be executed. I don't care. I mean, quite frankly, that is. I would bring back the most extreme form of executions for level of incompetency.
She wasn't. She wasn't even on the bridge of her ship when this happened, and the two officers who were on the bridge of the ship didn't realise the autopilot was still on.
Yeah. Why is it?
They must be such skilled naval officers, you know. One of them was a woman as well, I believe.
I don't know. I'm just too sexist to blame women for these sorts of things. I don't know. I think that's entirely on the men in upper command that allowed that sort of thing to take place, and the politicians that would have.
Well, the politicians are bragging about how many female admirals they now had in the New Zealand Navy.
Yeah, and it will make such a difference when we end up fighting someone and we start losing warships left, right, and centre because incompetent women are in charge of them.
Yeah.
I mean that whole make sure you go to the bathroom before you get off. That's like, you know, taking the kids out on a trip, isn't it?
I was about to say, it's such a mumsy thing to say, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. Like,
we're not gonna turn the lifeboat around if you've got to go now.
Don't get ketchup on your shirt.
But this is like creasy, though, isn't it? Like, you know, to a lot of these women, like, especially if they ain't had kids, they kind of just end up turning the whole world into a nursery.
But why do you think the reason? Okay, the reason why people want to, like, there's been a documentary like on incels and incel Ross Kemp going on. The reason why we have fucking incels, why that's a thing, why Elliot Rodgers was a fucking thing, is because of those dumb fucking broads being allowed to be put into those positions to do stupid shit like that.
Well, the good thing is she is being court-martialed now. I always thought they were going to court-martial her because the reef was known. It wasn't like it was an uncharted reef. They knew where it was. They just drove into it. And the captain is responsible for the safety of their ship.
The response from the politicians at first going, frankly, it's a miracle that no one died. So, you know, what a great captain.
Well, that was the female defence minister of New Zealand referring to the female captain, of course. So, but you know, the Red Arrows now have a female commanding officer. I don't know if she actually flies with them, mind you, but she's the commanding officer. But yeah, it's this feminization has gone much further than people think it has. It's really, really bad. But yeah, we've had a couple of guests join since we started. We've had Adam and obviously and Mitch have joined us, and we were talking, gents, about Restore Britain being passed by the Electoral Commission as a political party. And people were pointing out that the Reform UK people were saying, oh, it's not really a political party. Well, they can't say that now, can they? Because it really is a political party now. So I don't know if you two chaps had anything you wanted to add on that subject before we go on to something else.
I've got one other thing. So one of the things that's come up recently is now that it's an official party, we're going to have to figure out what to do with some of these council defectors, like the ones in Kent. Because at the moment, they're just independent. They say like they defected to Restore, but there wasn't anything to defect to. So because, and I'm not. I feel like this Kent lot, they do need a bit of beating. They need sort of the party line beaten into them a bit. I mean, because we recently had the.
It sounds like it, doesn't it? With that, some of you will remember the thing that someone put up in the Discord, where they were talking about pride flags and fire brigade stations. And they certainly weren't keeping the Restore Britain party line. That's for
no, which is completely banning it. But they were saying we leave it up to the fire departments, and then there's the most recent thing where the Reform Council in Kent. I mean, it's virtue signal because, like everything with Reform, they sort of said, "Oh, we're going to declare an immigration emergency." Means nothing, changes nothing, does nothing. It's pure just nothingness. And so all the other parties walked out, and this, including the so-called Restore lot. I'm not sure how we should handle that, because it's kind of like, because I mean it is
toe the party line. Surely it's got to be toe the party line.
I mean,
party line on this stuff.
I mean, the unfortunate thing is you also have to entertain the idea that it is possible Reform in Reform they've said, listen, send some guys, go and defect and join Restore and sort of fuck it up from within.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is a possibility. One of the problems that I did, and I will be honest, I had, and I talked about it on one of my streams where I talked, is the reason why you have a vanguard and why you have effectively what people would say like sort of purity spiraling or what have you, but there is a point to that, is it keeps people who you don't want in out. It keeps like the people who have ulterior motives, and I mean, these are councillors, but at the same time these are people who will set the reputation of Restore in those local areas. And if they just come across as like wet Tories who are basically like on par with like Ken Clark and bloody David Cameron level Cameronite types, then I mean, and this is where you do have to have background checks. I mean, imagine remember what Reform did with Hope. They teamed up with Hope Not Hate to keep all like the actual patriotic British people out, like Bo and others and Dan. Rupert needs to do that he needs to basically keep liberal shitheads out of the party.
As I understand it, and I asked Atman about this because he comes from roughly that part of the world, and these people are not actually Reform members as such. They're just more or less freelancers. They're not really officially Restore Britain at all.
No. So that's what I meant. We're going to have to decide now, what do we actually sort of take them in now that it's an actual party? I mean, one of them is actually my councillor, and during the last council elections, I was pretty unimpressed with him. I thought he's just an empty London suit, just sort of saying the words, saying the sort of the party line of Reform at the time.
Someone's asking what we think of Nick Timothy. I don't know if anyone's got any opinions.
Yeah.
Who's Nick Timothy? I can think of Nick Timothy.
He was a Tory. He was a Tory guy that wrote a book a while back, but he recently made comments about mass Muslim prayer in London. Fucking your mic, Duke. He's still getting that interference problem.
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's just Morse code for anyone who doesn't understand English.
Yeah.
I've got to tell you guys. I told a couple of people who joined us early. I have actually moved every wire around my computer so that none of them are crossing, and I'm still getting it. So I don't know. Maybe I need to buy a new mic.
You are just activating the poo in the loo sleeper cells in chat.
Yeah. I think I probably need to buy a new microphone, but I just can't afford it at the moment, guys. But I will get one in due course. I'll just mute myself when I'm not talking.
I mean, that's got to be the cable, but yeah. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, Nick Timothy. I don't really know much about him beyond that. Like, he's triggered all the lefties. I actually saw this quite funny tweet where this guy was like, who I think was Iranian, was like, "Oh, he wrote this book where he didn't talk about Islam at all. Therefore, him talking about Islam now is totally insincere." And I'm like, I mean, like maybe, but also like, so what? Like, who cares? And there was lots of people in the chat being like, yeah, like the Tories, they lost their way because they actually went to the right, and that's why everyone stopped voting for him. And people like him have followed him along. And I'm like,
oh God Almighty! How can people possibly say that?
Who's in charge of the Tories at the moment? Oh,
Bad Enoch. So
yeah.
The spirit of actual Enoch power, if you were to believe some people.
The proud Nigerian Yoruba woman, or whatever the hell she is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Farage also, he sort of said, "Oh, this is intolerable about those London prayers," but it's like, okay, Nigel, what the fuck are you going to do though? Are you going to ban Islam? Are you going to ban anything?
British, and they're going to say they are.
Yeah.
And, that's it.
At this point, Iron Duke, I was going to sort of say my subject was going to talk about the Trafalgar Square praying and the new laws that are basically bringing in the blasphemy laws to the back door. If you want to move on to that,
yeah, let's move on to that. I think we've, unless Adam or Mitch have anything else to say on it, I think we've covered Restore Britain becoming a political party.
Well, I did actually. I just have the one more of a question, which is like we're saying about like what these councillors who effectively want to move over to Restore are doing. Obviously, there was that thing where there was like a vote or some such, but it's like, what is the party line? Like, I think isn't it kind of still too early days? Like, there isn't actually some sort of direct party messaging yet.
I mean, I mean, obviously, it's a very anti-immigration party, but you see
that this particular thing that we were talking about on the Discord was actually a gay pride flag thing.
Yeah, that was a little while ago. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I've heard Rupert Lowe and other people around Restore Britain saying that they're not going to fly those from public buildings, and that would include fire brigade stations because they're public buildings.
Yeah, Rupert said it's just going to be banned everywhere. So that's that.
But these people seem to be, if I read it right, seem to be implying that they were against it being banned and they thought it should just be up to the choice of whoever runs the station, which like up to the choice of whoever runs the station now. But of course, they make sure that the people running these stations are all woke retards. So it's kind of a pointless distinction.
I mean, if they're going for like it gives reform a win, it's I hate that sort of that attitude. That's just really shitty. Like playing the party politics game.
That's establishment thinking, right there. That's what the establishment thinking's been from as long as I've been politically active. That has been the establishment line.
Yeah.
I think somebody said in the chat earlier that they will pull out every dirty trick in the book against Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain, and I think that that's entirely correct, and we must expect that.
It's a bit of an understatement to not think that.
This is actually another problem then, isn't it? Because it's like, obviously there's quite a few people on the right who I really want to agree with, and they say like, you can't have a British party be represented by Indians or by this person or by that person. But we have got the 2010 Equality Act. Like, how far can you push that?
Well, you can't stop them joining the party, but I don't think you're required to stick them in the top positions. Right?
No, but the thing is, if you've got, let's say the party ends up with 250,000 members, I do kind of think we might be heading back into the era of mass party participation. But let's say you end up with 250,000 members, and there's 10,000 who are like non-white, or 20,000, and not a single one of them get a position as a councillor or an MP. That would be probably quite easy for a lawsuit to be landed against your party.
But are you going to? I think it would depend, though, Alan, on how many immigrants and sons and daughters of immigrants join. I don't think many will, to be honest. I really don't.
I mean, you will have the odd. You'll have like the odd, maybe eccentric and maybe person who's like grifter, types. There's one that's quite called Chris Rose, who sort of likes to jump about. He's some black chap who likes to jump about like a thing, and then of course you have like your constant kiss and these, a lot of people them have what is it like they want to use like the political vehicles as a thing to for their own their own agendas, right? And usually it's foreign agendas.
Isn't that going to be a bit like turkeys voting for Christmas, though?
But it does happen. Like, I mean, you're going to
Yeah,
get like
well-
5% of the party is going to be non-white, probably.
Yeah,
I mean,
about harm in Singapore, that illegal guy.
Yeah.
He joined Restore a couple of months back.
Yeah.
I mean, another example in history was, of course, you had with the in Britain when you had the British Union of Fascists and the Splinter Group. There was a whole debate because and like in Italy as well, you had Jewish members who joined the party and who were active in the party, and so it was kind of like there was a whole debate around that as well. But if you look at and this is something I said, is you can have like the odd Sikh councillor or the odd like Muslim councillor, but at the same time you can't as long as Rupert doesn't have those at the top position. Now the first hurdle he had was when Ben Habib wanted to merge Advance UK, which from my mind was just a ridiculous stupid little outfit which was just full of like Somalians and like Yardi types who wanted to laugh as Brits. And he wanted like a top position. He wanted like a proper party merger, and Rupert was sensible not to give him the time of day because it was a ridiculous request, regardless.
My mate Footlong loved Advance.
Yeah,
but I mean, or if an advanced members want to join Restore, it's pretty easy to join Restore. I mean,
Yeah.
But they want the conditions of joining were basically, well, you need to be like this and this and everything. And it was point and Lowe and the boys down at there avoided that, and it was a good thing because then if you remember, what did Ben Habib do? He had a massive meltdown on social media, and he was turned into like a bog standard Labour Green activist, like would saying, basically saying, oh, this is just racism. You're racist, like evil white people, and he just behaved like a stereotypical shitlib. And now that's good because at least could you imagine someone like that in Restore? I mean, it would have gone. He would have sunk the party. He would have, if you didn't have that strength and the people obviously there to keep him out, he would have caused all sorts of problems. There would have been division, and everything would have fallen apart very quickly. So as long as the top echelons, the inner party, are pure, it doesn't matter if you have the odd like black or Sikh councillor.
Yeah.
The only problem is Reform. Nigel, he invited Zia Youssef, David Ball, a mix of I mean, he has like this bizarre Judeo-Islamo coalition forming in Reform, which that'd be interesting to see how far that goes.
It's. I think you're right, AI. I think if the leadership of Restore Britain keep it pure, and of course, if and when they form the next government, then they can change the bloody law. They can get rid of that Equalities Act.
Yeah, and also if he. And I did this I was actually on a Twitter space with I think it was Academic Agent a few months ago, and a few weeks ago even. I think it was actually the night before the Gordon Denton by-election, and there was people on there, and they were saying no, not one foreign, not one non-white sort of thing. And I said, listen, they're trying to get registered as a party. If they came out and were saying what you want them to say now, they would just be denied that because the laws. So there is a practical reality. and I said, listen, the BNP had this problem back in the day, and they had to accept black members and mixed race. I remember in the BNP Youth, you can find it on YouTube as well. The BNP Youth thing. There's like you have all these like young people, and there's like this like half-caste kid with a big afro, and I remember that one because it was. Do you remember like the pool is closed meme? The pool is closed meme sort of thing. He looked like that. So these problems have persisted, on the right anyway, and yeah.
I know that I was listening to Tharium and Mercian's. I think it's Mercian's show actually. Mercian and Tharium had a mixed race dude on the other week, and he wasn't that keen on Restore Britain from what I got from him. He had exactly the objections I would expect.
You had a mixed race person on.
Yeah. They did, I believe. Yeah. I could tell immediately from his accent, but Aubrey was on there, and she didn't get it because, of course, she's American, so she didn't pick up the accent, but I did. But anyway,
yeah. I mean, but like there's no point in trying to, like you were saying with the BNP stuff. There's no point in trying to fight something that you legally can't do. Like you will, if it went to court, like. If you did something like that, trying to keep, oh no, only white people allowed, it's going to go to court, and then you've lost.
No, all you do is you keep your leadership positions.
Yeah, exactly.
For people who you want to give leadership positions.
I kind of feel like that's still not a real working solution, though, because you're just like, what's going to happen is you're going to get people on the inside that, unless they hope not hate spies, and they're going to get you on some hot mic or on a secret film, and then you're still going to get sued. Because you're going to have to talk about it if this is supposedly going to be some sort of informal policy.
Yeah, but let's remember, guys, you only need about say 12 shadow cabinet positions, right? You won't, and they're the only ones they have to keep like pure. I don't care if some minor councillor somewhere is a Sikh or is even a West Indian. I don't give a shit about that. But so long as they keep the government positions, the people who might become cabinet ministers, they're the guys I don't want to see people like Zia Yusuf, for example.
The only way I can see. I don't want to like pretend like I think it's doomed. I think it's still very workable, but it's like the way I look at it now is like, if you want to have like some sort of informal policy like that, it has to be sort of baked into the culture of the party, and you can't really bake something into the culture of the party in this current national culture unless you talk about it a lot. And the more you talk about it, the more likely it is that it's going to come back to bite you later when it comes to like legal ramifications and such things.
Well, I'm not going to be black-pilled about this one. I think you.
I'm not trying. I just want to find a solution.
But I think it's going to have to be an unofficial solution. If you see what I mean. And as I said, if you win the election, then you can change it.
So, like Edmund in chat said, Indigenous people, you don't say white. The problem is with that, right, is that the same regime that will pretend there's no such thing as Indigenous people, when it comes to taking you to court, will suddenly know exactly what Indigenous means, and will say that it's understood by everyone that you mean white.
Yeah,
I mean that's kind of the gross thing about it, but
well, there's also graduations. I mean, there are mixed race people, as we were saying just a minute ago. I think you can get around some of this. I really do.
I mean, the only good
I
thing...
don't really care so long as the people who are going to form the government are actually British.
The only good thing is that you're not going to have that many non-white and mixed race people joining. If we're being realistic and honest, it's going to be...
Yes, that's what I think. I think it would be like if I was an immigrant, even a third-generation immigrant, there's no way I'd join this.
Can I play devil's advocate for a moment? If you take a Sierra Ali Ann character, the Somalian that goes round, who fled Islam. So she's supposedly a Christian now. You take someone like that who got away from these countries and knows exactly what those countries are like and how good it is to be in a Western nation. Would you have any problem with someone like that joining Restore?
Yes, because she portrayed her own people. She portrayed her own people. She portrayed her own culture. I don't want traitors. I don't want foreign traitors.
I wouldn't have a problem with her joining Restore. I'd have a problem with her being given a potential government job.
No, I'm a bit more ruthless when it comes to this, because it's the same like with the Iranians, diaspora, or any people. Look, at the end of the day, they're traitors to their own people.
Yeah, you got to keep out the Portuguese, don't forget.
Exactly.
Well,
And
not something funny. We were all having this conversation about the Greeks a minute ago, and you basically agreed on the Portuguese question. You can't, just for Greeks, you can't go soft on it now.
Oh, listen, I think that the crown bases in Cyprus are British and should stay British forevermore. Well, I'm a what we have, we hold people person. You know, anything that's British, I think, should stay British. It's as simple as that.
Mm-hmm. I mean, for me, it was just pure hatred and vengeance. I just wanted them to be controlled by the Turks. There was no like genuine political conviction in that. I just wanted them crushed.
The number one you mentioned, they're the number 2 worst people. The number 1 was the Portuguese, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Hey, look, I had
Britain's oldest ally, by the way.
I had Portuguese people in my office this morning, and one of them was black, and they all talked to him like he was like a brother from another mother, and it disgusted me.
I've noticed a few one particular Portuguese chap I have a problem locally. He is very brown. Are we sure the Portuguese are actually just not Arabs who just got left behind in the 12th century?
I'll tell you something, AI. I had 1 or 2 pretty good Portuguese mates in South Africa. The one guy I knew in particular started fighting the communist Africans in Angola or Mozambique, actually, I think. And then he moved to Rhodesia, and he was fighting the communist Africans from there. And then when I knew him, he was in the South African Defence Force, and he was fighting against the communist Africans of SWAPO in Southwest Africa. And he was actually quite crazy because he'd been at war for so fucking long. You know, honestly, he ended up killing himself in a souped-up VW that had a much too big an engine in it, which I found much more scary than being fired at the SWAPO, by the way, being a passenger in that car.
That's Mercian's favourite thing. Cars with engines.
Yeah, Mercian would have loved him. Yeah, Mercian would have adored him for sure.
Oh, you damn straight. I used to have a Capri Mark III without an engine, and I was trying to source some V8s, and everyone was recommending Rover V8s, and I went, no, I think I need a McLaren V8 because they're really light. And I had this theory about making this 1,000 kilogram Capri with 800 horsepower, naturally aspirated, which is without the turbos. He would have killed me. He would have killed me so badly. Oh dear me.
Yeah, but before this turns into a motor racing stream, I watched a Mercian stream the other week, and I saw more motorsport on that stream than I've watched in the last 10 years. But anyway,
let the testosterone flow.
Oh, listen, I like driving fast. I like nice cars. I just don't like watching them driving fast. That doesn't do anything for me, to be honest.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I like old motor racing. I really struggle to watch the new stuff. Every time I go and see F1 in person, I'm reminded about how cool it is. But then when you watch it on TV, it's kind of, yeah.
And then you see Lewis Hamilton
from the experience.
You see Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah.
And also I stopped watching motor racing when they got rid of the pit girls, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a shame.
Yeah, once they got rid of the girls in the cute little outfits, nah, I'm not interested,
that's another case of feminists destroying working class women, because a lot of working class women were making good money from that.
Yeah. Gainful employment for women. No, we can't have that.
Have you noticed
it's like they've tried to get rid of the ring girls in boxing.
Yeah.
They got rid of the little cheeky babes in bikinis they used to have at darts tournaments. And all it does is stop cute girls getting jobs, basically.
Yeah, but
because these women are ugly and couldn't do that job, you know.
Yeah, that's the thing about, like, you know, no one's hated more than not cute women by other women.
Yeah.
But guys, have you noticed the very same feminists, they never really go after the big pornography companies? Why is that?
I can almost be sure why it is, and it's got something to do with a certain Middle Eastern religion and the people who run those companies.
There's something really disgusting about a fat hog woman going about how sex work is real work. It's like, oh, gross.
Yeah. I don't know. Did anyone notice? I think that idiot whore, the only
Bonnie Blue.
Woman. Yeah, she got arrested apparently for something she was doing in public. I mean, I just can't imagine why anyone would want to stick their dick in that. It's just beyond me, to be honest.
There's
Judeo-Christian culture.
Well, I do notice that there's a lot of non-whites in her lineups, and I'd imagine more than a few who would have called themselves incels as well. I'd imagine as well.
Guys, on that note, I'm going to do a bit of channel admin. Guys, if you please like the stream, it really does help the channel. And if you hit that thumbs up button, takes you a second, doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to support the channel, believe it or not, I'm spending quite a lot of money running this channel these days. And I'm semi-retired. So if you want to help support the channel, you can do so via Entropy. And the link to that is pinned at the top of the chat. And I noticed we've already got one already. And also you can ask Super Chat questions on there. So if you want to ask the panel a question, stick it on Entropy and we will address it towards the end of the stream, but before people start to leave, because like one or two of the guys have to get up early for work tomorrow and that sort of thing. But yeah, if you want to support the channel doing that, I would be most grateful, people. And I noticed we've already got one from Gerin, who is a regular supporter of the channel. Thank you very much, Gerin. But we'll talk about those a bit later.
I think when it comes to keeping people out of reform, we're past the first hurdle now. That they are now an actual party. Because I can imagine there were some people behind the scenes trying to pull strings, going, "Oh, you can't allow this racist lot to be registered as a party."
Do you know what? There was a bit of me expecting to sort of say they've been denied for X, Y, Z reasons, from not necessarily from the reform lot, but just sort of like, the inner workings of our deep state.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty, it's difficult to do that when Rupert Lowe is a long-standing MP. So yeah, and also knows how to apply properly, and so do the people around him. I don't know. I think we'll just have to wait and see what develops with this. I did mention earlier that they're starting a national billboard campaign. I think that's going to help. It's going to get to a lot of normies.
I did see the BBC had reported on it, which is good of them. I'll be interested to know if GB News will start reporting on them, or will they just pretend they don't exist?
I think pretend, because it is basically a reform like propaganda, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, but they still let Charlie Downs on there though, which is weird.
They're going to find it more difficult to ignore them now that they're registered as a political party, because I think they're in the same way that there is that stupid Equalities Act. I think that registered political parties have to get a certain amount of coverage from legitimate news organizations. I say legitimate in air quotes, of course.
So two markers for me are: one, Restore gets above Reform in the polls. I don't know when that will be. Hopefully within a few months, if not sooner. And two, when GB News has to start reporting on them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I can see the left wingers reporting on them more because they'll report on them and say, look at this evil party, we have a new evil now, go fight them. Unfortunately for them, if that is a thing, that'll just serve Reform well, I think. Restore well, sorry.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. I think the more that Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain get called racist, the more support they're going to get.
It'd be the one case we actually really enjoy BBC and Sky News coverage. And I think the one time it's sort of like, yeah, that's it. Keep calling us racist.
Yeah, come on, Channel 4, do it. You know.
Yeah, I know. It's like you got GB News, where I think it was David Ball himself who actually tweeted, "Oh well, it's an editorial decision."
Yeah,
GB News to have banned Rupert Lowe. So so he's never quite party out loud.
I will say one thing personally, guys. Like my Twitter, we're live on Twitter on X at the moment, and my X account had 1,500 members. Sorry, 1,500 followers for months and months and months and months and months. I haven't been on X that long. I only started really using it about a year or so ago. But it had 1,500 followers for a very, very long time. It's now like well over 2,100, and that's mainly because I support Restore Britain on there. It's mostly Restore Britain who are following my account. I can assure you, because I can see that from the replies I'm getting. There is a great deal of public yearning for a real pro-British political party. There really is. I just think it, and I think, and I've fought this for quite a long time, that Reform just completely went up the wrong track when they decided to go centre.
And one of the things, like, so I think we're seeing the Nigel's decision to just bring in the Tories, be a life draft for all the Boris cabinet. I think that's really starting. More and more people are noticing now, and they're not liking it. I think that's probably a big part of why they're declining in the polls.
Tharim, you can say two things about these former so-called conservatives that are joining Reform. If you're kind, you can say they were failures, right? Yeah. Because they were failures. And if you're less kind, like me, you can say they were actual traitors.
Yeah.
So, and that's what I say. How is that a win for Nigel Farage and Reform?
I mean, but the thing is that he's made his bed with this, right? He's stuck with it because he decided to do this. If he now realizes, oh shit, like everyone's just calling us Tory 2.0 again, he can't get rid of them. You know, that's just going to be so embarrassing. Like, what a clown show. You know, you bring these Tories on, and then you go, oh, actually, no.
Tories. They're the teal Tories, is what Reform are.
So I think he's just really sunk himself with this easily avoidable, stupid move. But I don't know. So he's stuck with it now.
We've been speaking on this show before, and hopefully some of the other chaps like Adam and Mitchell have something to say about this. But we've been speaking for some time that people like Jacob Rees-Mogg have been pushing for a Reform Conservative alliance for months now. For months. And who thinks that sort of alliance would change anything? It wouldn't.
You had Mohammed Yusuf the other day also saying that, well, to keep out the Greens, we might have to consider it. So, yeah. You can tell. I'm sure that's what is going to happen. They're going to go that way.
I'm just interested in what other people think about this. I mean, I think that the Conservative Party are very, very unpopular, and associating yourself with a load of failed traitor Tories is just not the right thing to do if you want to try and say you're a new party.
Well, the Reform stands and the likes of David Starkey and others have their rationale is that all these people had genuine conversions, they've got experience, but it's such weak argument because they got experience of fucking up the country.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they got experience fucking up the country, and
the Boris wave, yes.
And if we're being honest here, if we're just going to be honest here for a second, you don't need any level of experience to be a minister.
No.
All of your decision making is done by your office, i.e., civil servants. They just give you the briefing. It's not like they actually do the job. The problem is they just they're handed like their red boxes or whatever by their civil servants, by their cabinet secretaries and what have you, and they just repeat what they're told. It's not like they actually have any sort of say, and very few of them ever dare to question it. They just go along with it. So this whole idea of that there needs to be like some level of experience in politics. You don't understand politics. You young guys, you don't understand it. It's really complex. Like, no, it's not.
Well, I mean, what was Robert Jenrick's experience before he became an MP? Exactly.
Yeah.
There wasn't any, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
look. I think you also got to say that if you've got a Restore Britain government, you'd want to remove at least the top 2 or 3 levels of the civil service. They should all be sacked. At least the top 2 or 3 levels should all be sacked, or 99%, 95% of them anyway.
Well, there's something about experience on the local level, about knowing where to campaign, how to campaign, who to campaign to, that sort of thing. But it's like I said about like how many Sherpas do you need to climb a mountain? You know what I mean?
Well, I mean,
how many navigators do you need to guide? You know.
I mean, AI. You did that stream about how to focus on your campaigning. It's not rocket science.
No, because I had to do it. I had to do it for about several months. Many years ago, when I was in the Conservative Party, I got like training. I've campaigned for MPs who got successfully re-elected, and I was lectured, by the way, by a Reform shill who said I was terming online. I don't win. I don't know how to win. Apparently, even though I managed to get some. Several people re-elected, through campaigning efforts and everything. I've got no experience. And I'm terming online again, that argument used again by these people that saying that, and they're just absolutely full of shit. All of them are full of shit. Matt Goodwin.
I was going to say.
Matt Goodwin, there was no reason why he couldn't have won that seat. That seat was prime for the taking.
Yeah.
He's made up so much bullshit excuses. The reason why that stupid fucker didn't win the seat was, number one, he came across like an establishment Tory. He came across like an establishment Tory arsehole, and everyone saw it. He then denigrated on social media people who cared about mass immigration and demographic change, and called them a bunch of racists and what was it, dwelling in their dwelling in their basements, or what was the tweet that he put out. And also he was buddying up with like curry houses and shops and what have you. I mean,
the only one of his political broadcasts I saw, he had a load of Sikhs in it.
Well, I mean, you know what the takeaway from Reform HQ will be about that is we need to put Mohammedan in these places.
Yeah.
Well, the gay chairman of Reform UK, Bull, I think his name is.
David Bullshit.
He went. Yeah, exactly. he went on TV immediately after the by-election and said, "Oh no, the trouble was that this dude you're talking about, AI, was too racist."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like a comedy. It really is.
They were treating the Gordon Denton like it's a Muslim enclave. It isn't. They're only a third of the population. So, but Matt did the thing where I'll take the white population for granted, and I will just focus all my attention on trying to win my precious brown votes.
And the white population stayed home and didn't vote.
Yeah, exactly.
And how did the Greens get into power? By an on-point online campaign.
Yeah.
They knew exactly who they were aiming towards, and they aimed to the white women and the Mohammedans, and they did it in a separate way, all online, all focused. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she did. She had a good campaign as well, because she started off quite a distant third behind Labour and Reform. I mean, at the start of it, if you look at the polls, Reform were quite well ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And what you had was then, as soon as Matt Goodwin entered the race, massive apathy on Reform's side, because Matt Goodwin is such a fake, phony shithead. Everyone can just sense it. They don't even need to look at him. You just know it. It trembles in the force with him. You just know. You just know deep down in your bones what he's like. And the Greens, they were able to capture some. I guess you see anti-establishment populism from the left. They were able to capture that and run with it.
Yeah,
I noticed that freedom-loving loyalist in the chat, who is a Canadian, going by his flag, because that's the old Canadian flag before they made it the maple leaf. He's saying never trust the Sikh in your political pie, and of course the Sikhs are quite dominant in a lot of Canadian politics these days because there's so many of them there.
Yep.
Yeah, didn't they have like an assassination? It was like India was like there was something about the assassinating
some Sikh terrorist something or other. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's like the Indian government were involved or something. You got of course the Sikhs have been fighting for a homeland in the the Punjab or something. There's like a Sikh state in the Punjab.
It's the Punjab that they want to have a Sikh independent place. Yes,
I do hate the sort of idea that you always hear the talks. Oh, the Sikhs, they're great allies. They always fought alongside us. They only used us because they thought we could beat the enemies that they couldn't.
Yeah, and they were a massive minority.
I think the Sikhs have the enemy of my enemy kind of.
It's like, well, we can't beat them, but these British guys can. Let's jump in. Let's jump on board with that. Yeah,
and also the Sikhs
we also
got massively rewarded.
We also fought two really big time hard wars against the Sikhs because they had better artillery than we did and more of it. So yeah.
Yeah, and also the fact that they were in the Raj, the two dominant groups in the Raj, religious groups.
Later on, there was a lot of Sikh regiments in the Anglo-Indian Army. For sure.
Yeah, because at the end, and then of course you would have like Buddhists from like the Himalayas, and I guess maybe you'd have the very small minority Anglo-Indian. Christians and maybe even like mixed race Indians, but that's a very, very small. That's like 10,000 people, a very small minority, but they would be like maybe like administrators or maybe high in the Raj or something.
I agree with Alphabet Cat in the chat. In 1947, the Sikhs were as keen as everybody else to chuck Britain out of India. And now they want to take over Britain and Canada and everywhere else.
They like to remind us about that massacre. General Dyer and all that. They'd love to remind us about that massacre because it was Sikhs, wasn't it, that were killed in that?
Yeah, it was the Gurkhas that opened fire on them too. It was the Gurkhas. It wasn't British soldiers, it was Gurkhas.
Yeah, exactly.
There we go.
Yeah, but Buddhism. Actually, no, they're probably more like Hindus, I guess. What they hint, maybe a mix.
The Gurkhas are the Nepalese, and the Gurkhas. Well, the Gurkhas are Nepalese. They're mostly Hindus, but it's it's a less strict form of Hinduism than you get in, say, South India. But we'd have to talk to Brutus to get a real expert on that sort of thing. All right, so I haven't really done this stream like I usually do by asking everyone first topics. I know Mercian's pretty much covered his, and I think Tharium covered his. So I'm going to ask Adaman and Mitch and AI if you have something particular you wanted to talk about this evening.
I was thinking about talking about this, about Wikipedia. This is kind of a bit of an old topic.
Go for it. I haven't heard anything about this. Adaman, please.
Well, just it's just about their fundraising. I'm just trying to find the bookmark that I had for it. I cannot find it. I hate this. Oh yeah. Okay. So like it's about. I wasn't aware of this. I always thought you always see the download link at the top of the Wikipedia page. Sorry, not the download link, the support link, and they're always like begging for money. I kind of thought it was like one of those things where it's like you know, like they had the old joke where they're like, oh, who's actually bought a DFS sofa outside of the sale? It turns out actually there's actually quite a few people that donate to Wikipedia. And the funny thing is that they're in assets, I think, like posted on their own website as of a couple of years ago. In net assets, I think they have like $250 million.
Wow.
They, you know, and the funny thing is as well is over like the last 20 years, the cost of running the site, the actual cost of hosting Wikipedia has actually gone down. Like whilst everything else has been going up in price, I think I think that the cost of hosting the website went from $2.5 million to $2.3 million.
And they get most of their work done for free, Adam. Like most of the editing on Wikipedia is done by volunteers or almost all extreme lefties.
It's one single fat Redditor who does it all.
Basically, might as well be. But they do actually have, I think it's like 700 full-time employees. But seem to do everything except moderate or do anything with Wikipedia. They put a huge amount of money into like, you know, various, like you could imagine, like USAID type stuff. I even found this YouTube channel earlier that they apparently fund, but it hasn't, or they apparently run, called Vanguard STEM, which people can look up. It hasn't actually uploaded anything in a year, and it basically has these like hour-plus long videos of women going on about, you know, getting people of color into STEM, and they get like and they get like 50 to 90 views. 95 views is the most viewed thing on there I could see. So that went well. That was a good investment of their money.
I know one of the founders of Wikipedia has said that it went completely off track of what it was supposed to be originally.
I saw that he was it was an interview, and he actually talked about some of the interpretations of historical events, and he was really lamenting, saying this was meant to be like a complete, like you would have works which would, it wouldn't be just like puff pieces of like an editor's opinion. It would be like citing. It'd be like a place where you can quickly access sources of information through those like links on the pages. And like in education, like higher education, all that sort of stuff. And what you have now is a complete, as you said, like Reddit tier stuff. I mean, a good one is, I've actually got, if you're on Wikipedia and you type in Moses or Moses, Jesus, and Muhammad, okay, and maybe even Buddha for good measure. All of them, bar one, actually accurately talks about, describes them in the way that their own followers understand them to be. Okay.
Mhm.
There is one, however, that describes them as, well, this is what they claim to be, or this is what
Mhm.
so and so claims to be, and by the way, he was killed by the Romans. I mean, that gives you a bit of a clue.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't killed by the Romans, but Pontius Pilate left it up to the Jewish crowd.
That sounds like a conspiracy theory on Duke.
I'm gonna have to have a word with you. Ted Cruz wants to have a word with you. I mean, like just out of nowhere, the Roman imperial administration in Syria, Judea, had a problem with him. And I mean, yeah.
What, Mohammed? That's odd.
So here's the
Yeah,
thing,
but
though,
you could see why Wikipedia will do this, because it's just so biased. Sorry,
but this
you.
is the thing, though. Like Wikipedia, I mean, Wikipedia actually claims to be impartial, but the company that owns them, or you could say manages them, which is Wikimedia, the Wikimedia Foundation, they actually don't have any claim to be impartial, and they use all the money that they make through donations through Wikipedia. Like here's one of the things that they funded, right? So get this. So Wikimedia, so you donate to Wikipedia, the money goes to Wikimedia Foundation. Then Wikimedia Foundation, in this one instance, donates $250,000 to the Borealis Philanthropies Racial Equality in Journalism Fund, right?
Yeah.
Which funds basically moderating Wikipedia for the cause of racial justice. So, like, you donate money to Wikipedia, which claims to be an impartial organization, which we all know it isn't. And then Wikipedia sends the money to Wikimedia, which then funds a philanthropy group that pays moderators to moderate Wikipedia.
I will give them a penny. I would not give them a penny. I've got to say.
Do you know sort of the demographics of who the people who donate to Wikipedia are? I'm guessing it's mainly going to be like American boomers who just sign up for this sort of stuff, like the public broadcasting.
I mean, David used to talk a lot about how if you're like a leftist who runs like who has you're a bread tuber, let's say, you will basically still get good funding even through recessions and the like, because a lot of the people donating to you will actually be people that work for universities and stuff like that, and they can write it off as a business expense. I think a lot of people do that through Wikipedia. Definitely, when I was looking around to find people talking about funding, donating to Wikipedia, I definitely found a lot of people that were like, "Oh, I use it for my job as a researcher for this, that, and the other." And I thought, yeah, I bet they, I bet they put a donation through as a business expense. So
I agree with Woodpit, who said that they're only useful for completely non-political topics.
Yeah,
and even then, if like I will occasionally use them to look up details of a 1890s warship, say, but you still need to check the sources to make sure.
I mean, I actually like using them actually for political sources, because you can like when it gets into the political realm where everything suddenly becomes very moral, or indeed like moral history, which is like basically everything from World War II onwards. You can go to Wikipedia and then just reliably be like, okay, the opposite of this is what actually happened, and then just dig through the sources and see what you can find. I mean, some of the sources on that stuff is
it's a bit like YouTube, Adam, and I watch a lot of military history, okay, and if you watch anything pretty much on the Second World War, YouTube will put a big thing about the Holocaust underneath it, even if it's got nothing to do with it. You know, it might be talking about a battle in Italy or something. You know,
Andrew, by mentioning the big H just now, probably under your channel after we finish here, this video will have like or possibly even a link or something like that mentioning
Yep.
the
We've been going for an hour and a half, so we might get away with it. But if not, yes, you're right.
And it will link to Wikipedia.
Let's talk about the European shower.
As Atman said, it will link to Wikipedia. Quite right.
Yeah.
Let's test the algorithm. Let's talk about the European shower against the Russian people, the Russian Orthodox population after 1918. The algorithm won't pick that up. So
I thought that might actually become a more prominent talking point after the Ukraine invasion, but apparently the Jews already beat them to it. There was a video of a prominent Israeli politician meeting with Zelensky to tell him not to bring it up because they didn't want to undermine the Holocaust.
Yeah. But even though you can see pictures of Ukrainian tanks with the German Reich cross on, exactly the same one that the Germans used in World War II. And of course, people like Azov actually have Nazi tattoos like swastikas and all the rest of it.
Yeah, you're selling them to me now, though. I kind of. It's like one of their redeeming features, I think.
what wasn't like one of the founders of Mossad? Wasn't he like an SS guy? That I remember that there was like I found the Wikipedia page of an SS chap who was like Israeli, military, then it was like Egyptian military, and I'm like, bloody hell.
He wasn't he wasn't actually Mossad, but he was involved with them, yes. And also the Haganah, which was the Jewish terrorist organization that used to hang British sergeants in the 1940s. And
he was SS.
And blew up the King David Hotel with loads of British women and children in it. And I think the bloke you're talking about is Scorsese, the German SS paratrooper guy who rescued Mussolini.
Now, this is what I mean about purity spying. If Hitler actually did purity spy, people like him wouldn't be in the organization.
Yeah, Hitler was way too inclusive. That was his downfall.
Yeah, Scorsese was actually quite heavily involved with Jewish terrorist organizations and a lot of right-wing terrorist organizations around Europe. And he also did work for Egypt, as Woodpit is pointing out in the chat.
Do you think he ever went to like the old reunions back in Germany? Imagine that dynamic in the bills, in the pub.
He certainly went to places in South America like Argentina and so on, where a lot of these guys found sanctuary after the war. So, yeah.
Did you get a warm welcome there though? What are you up to these days? Well,
listen, I've got no. I'm not a particularly pro-Nazi dude, as anyone who follows this channel will know. I'm not. But you know what? They're not. Even those guys. If anyone thinks they were pure, well, yeah, all right. You say so. When it suited them.
But you have to admit, Duke, that is like. I mean, there's been a mercenary, and then, you know.
Yeah.
Look, the one I like is that Israel was quite close to the old white government in South Africa, even helped them get nuclear weaponry, which, of course, Israel stole from the Americans. But anyway.
I mean, every fucking socialist liberal, in this country, whenever they say, whenever like they'll, whenever they criticize Israel and everything, and they'll always go, well, they'll sort of harp on about the apartheid thing about it, and then they'll say, oh, they pull apart, like, because they propped up the Boers, the white government in South Africa.
Yep. The South African army, and I know this because I was serving in the South African Defence Force at the time. The main South African self-propelled gun was basically an Israeli design, and the R4 rifle was basically an Israeli Galil. It was a 5.56 Israeli Galil. Exactly the same weapon that the Israeli Defense Force were using. And there were other things like there were Air Force related stuff and what have you. And as I said, the South African white government got nuclear weapons, which I am happy to say they destroyed before Mandela took over. But anyway, yeah, they were quite close. Because they were both working against a certain amount of sanctions and all this kind of stuff, you know. But at the same time as that, in the 1930s, one of the very, very few countries that was willing to take large numbers of European Jewish refugees was South Africa. Jan Smuts in South Africa pretty much opened their doors because, foolishly, obviously, Jan Smuts thought, oh, well, this is more white people, in air quotes. Yeah. And what was their thanks for that? Well, one of the Jewish families that came as refugees from Europe in the 1930s to escape Adolf Hitler were the Shlomo family. And Joe Shlomo, white guy, but Jewish white guy, air quotes again, was the main military guy for Umkhonto Sizwe, which is the military wing of the African National Congress, the ANC. And that was the thanks that South Africa got. And there were others, by the way, also Jewish refugees from the 30s. That was the thanks that South Africa got for allowing these people to escape Adolf Hitler and go to South Africa.
Are refugees ever grateful?
No, I don't think most. The only time I think they are is if you get a situation like British guys going to Australia prior to the Japanese in World War II, or Australians getting out of Europe into Britain before World War II. That sort of situation, yes, but then you're talking about the same sorts of people, you know.
I mean, even the French Huguenots, the French Protestants didn't behave as despicably as what we've had to put up with in the recent years.
I mean, the Huguenots weren't, they weren't exactly, the best of guests.
Who are the worst ones of the Huguenots? Like people called Farage? Or...
Yeah, he's one of them.
Well, Lord Chelmsford, his family were really called Feisiger. Chelmsford was the British commander-in-chief in the Zulu War, and his family were Huguenots, for example.
I think there was a major general in the it was the French Indian Wars and the independence called like Andre. I know he was like I think he was like Swiss, but like French Huguenots as well. He was quite big figure in.
But the Huguenots are the people that the lefties always use as the example of Britain's always been a country of immigrants. But then let's be clear about this. The French Huguenots were Protestant Northern Europeans. They weren't that different.
Yeah, and you're talking about like 3 dozen over 100 years.
Exactly right, Alan. Over 300 years, we took in less Huguenots than Britain takes in every single year these days.
I think it averages out like 10 a year.
Yeah, it's hardly anyone.
And a lot of them went to the colonies anyway, so didn't really.
Yeah, quite a lot of French Huguenots went to South Africa, for example. If you look at the Anglo-Boer War, you'll find some of the Boer generals have French Huguenot names because they totally integrated with the Dutch population down.
I'll be honest, I've never met a South African I actually liked. Sounds harsh, but
that is very harsh, Adam, I've got to say. But then I lived there for 15 years, so I like lots of South Africans.
Did Nelson Mandela not do it for you then?
No, he's the worst of the lot, to be honest.
Yeah, no. Most white South Africans I find were really nice people. They're a lot louder than Brits. They're much louder than Brits. But,
I don't know. You're running.
But everyone's louder than Brits. Australians are louder than Brits. Canadians are. You know.
I'll put a yam against any loud person in the world. I assure you.
My favorite fictional I should say Rhodesian, is Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Blood Diamond. That is my favorite fictional.
Good accent, actually. A good accent, by the way, AI.
I was going to ask.
Hardly anyone can do a South African accent well who isn't South African. And I must give it to Leonardo DiCaprio. In Blood Diamond, he does a damn good South African accent. He does, yes.
I mean, I knew... I don't know if I should tell the story about that, actually. I did know another one. I knew a white South African at the gym. He was all right once I got to know him, but he was he was a bit of an arrogant piece of shit when I first talked to him.
They are definitely quite loud, Adam. And I've got to say, when I moved there, I had to get quite a lot louder to fit in.
Yeah, there was one. I will kind of tell the story. There is one black, one white South African, who is a little bit of a distance from where I am now, but he's in Kent. I think he's retired now, but he had a workshop, and he had a workshop when he was in South Africa, and because he was going to leave South Africa, he was going to like lay everyone off, and he had all black workers in there, and they heard about, and this one black like warned him about this, that these blacks were going to like attack him, right? And over this, and so he kind of like avoided the whole mess. But because this one guy like sold the rest of them out, they attacked him, and one of them bit his ear off. So this white South African brought this black guy with him as like his workshop assistant when he came to England.
Is he paid? Well, he gets lodging, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's a different story over there, guys. I'll give you one example. My mate Jan. Okay, now Jan was an Afrikaner guy, but he was actually married to a Zulu girl, and strictly against his father's wishes, I might add. But anyway, he ran a big cattle ranch basically, and one of the AFs nicked 2 of his cows. So Jan, myself, and a couple of his other mates, we got in the back of his ute, the back of his pickup truck. We had a searchlight. We were all tooled up. We all had rifles and pistols and what have you. And we just drove into this African village, knocking down all their barbed wire fences and all the rest of it. Beat the shit out of the African guy who'd taken the 2 cows, put the cows in the back of the pickup and fucked off. That's how you carry on in South Africa, and it's the only way you can do it. It's the only way you can do it.
I'm glad you, when you said you went into the African village with armed and you started knocking down things, I thought, where's this story going?
No, we didn't shoot anyone.
Tell us about pogrom.
Yeah, no, we didn't shoot anyone. I hasten to add. No one fired. The weapon.
You had the bayonets though, luckily.
No.
You had the Jewish guns, you had the Jewish money, you had all the...
No, we didn't even have any Jewish guns. They were all mostly American guns, actually. And I had a Spanish pistol. But anyway. But the point is, the guns were just so that it didn't get ugly. But, and the other guys didn't touch this African dude who'd stolen the calves. Jan did it himself. We were just there to make sure no one interfered. And then, and after he'd beaten the shit out of this bloke, and he did beat him pretty badly, but he didn't kill him. We put the calves in the back of the truck and fucked off. But that's how you carry on in South Africa, and this is why South Africans, particularly some of the guys from the country areas, they're a bit louder. You just have to be, mate. It's the frontier still. It's still the frontier.
I mean, there is something I have been sort of thinking, I've sort of thought about this for a bit now. If you look at, the South Africa, before Nelson Mandela, the Boer, the white South Africa government, who were backed by Israel, and then you also look at the loyalist. I mean, a lot of the loyalist movements in Northern Ireland were also, had some sort of backing from it. Not all of them, granted, but some of them had also that sort of backing as well, because of their opponents. That it looked on paper, opponents and everything. But the thing there is, this is something I can't not think about, is not only do the side that they back tend to lose, but they tend to lose in quite. I mean, like obviously, South Africa now, where it's just governed by the ANC, and it's the only, and you even I think the only thing that you got good going in South Africa is you got the Cape independence movement. Whether what happens with that, I don't know, but there seems to be some sort of an attempt of a breakaway there.
Afri Forum's pretty good. The guys that Conscious Caracal talks about. I like Conscious Caracal. I've spoken with him privately a few times. He's a good bloke. I'd like to get him on the stream one day, actually.
I kind of find even he has a bit of an anti-Anglo streak in him, though.
For sure. And if I was an Afrikaner, I would have too. If I'm honest, I would.
But
if you're an Afrikaner, if I'd have been an Afrikaner, I would have been fighting the British and the Commandos for sure.
But my point going back, my point originally though is you look at you look at the Rhodesians, or you look at the Loyalists in Northern Ireland. It's like, I mean, not only have they lost, but it feels like in Northern Ireland that Northern Ireland is sort of slipping away. That the loyalist community is completely broken, even there. Or it feels like they're broken. I don't know. Maybe they've still got a bit of spark left in them, but you got that pressure about up there. And do you understand what I'm sort of getting at here?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, AI. Look, as I said, South Africa is complicated because there is that Afrikaans English-speaking split. Although people get it wrong when someone says they're Afrikaans-speaking or English-speaking and they're white South African, both people speak both languages. They all do, because you had to at school. You learned it at school under the white government. You don't now, of course. Now it's only English. But that's another reason why the Afrikaners have become more defensive, is because the ANC's got no interest in supporting Afrikaans at all, Whereas they do support English because English is the world language,
Is in South Africa? You got the ANC, which is like the largest party. It's the governing party, even now. Is there like an Afrikaan or like a white South African political party that is like explicitly for?
Not really, not on a large scale. Look, all I can tell you, AI, is when they had the referendum on whether the government should negotiate with the ANC, I voted no. I just said no. Every single area voted yes, except the one right up on the border with Rhodesia, or Zimbabwe, as it by then was. That area voted no, but it was the only area in the whole country that did. And it was only white people. It was only the white people voting.
Why did the South African government capitulate like it did? Because it seems to me
this is a good question. This is a good question.
Because if they lost a war, like an insurgency or something, I can understand it. But it seems to me that even up until 94, the entire liberal Western world was raging about it being and everything. But it's not like they were not like a barely functioning society.
No, not at all. Not at all. I'll be honest. Look, I lived in Northern Natal, rural area. Since I moved away, and I moved in 2000, I lived there for 15 years. And when I moved because I met an Australian girl basically, who I fell for. So that's why I left South Africa. I know 3 people who've been murdered since I moved. At least 3. There's probably more. I'm talking about people I know about, including some quite well-known people. Who were tour guides and stuff like that. Murdered by black guys, of course. Yeah, Sonny Jim, I know. I've got problems with my mic. You don't need to remind me. I have tried fixing it every way I possibly can. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, why did people vote for it? They voted for it because they didn't want a civil war, because there wasn't a civil war going on. I never saw any large-scale black on white violence in South Africa in the whole time I was there. But the people thought it was going to happen. And so they voted to stop it happening at all. But of course, in doing so, they gave away their country.
You would have thought that what happened in Rhodesia would have made them sort of maybe think twice about that.
You would have thought so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But then don't forget the other thing to remember is that South Africa, the white government in South Africa, shat on Rhodesia in the end, because they thought by chucking Rhodesia under the bus, they would gain themselves more time. But of course, they didn't actually at all. Nope,
that never happens. No.
It doesn't make any difference. They would have been far better off propping Rhodesia up for longer. It would have helped them stay for longer, you know.
I was just going to say quickly to Duke. Was it because the Boers just, the Rhodesians saw themselves effectively as British? They were British largely, and it was just because the Boers sort of like a bit of anti-Anglo streak within them.
No, not really. No, I don't think it was that at all. And also, don't forget, when you're talking about South Africa in the 1970s, which you are when you're talking about Rhodesia, the white population was about 60% Afrikaans-speaking, 40% English-speaking, I'd say, roughly. So there's a lot of English speakers in South Africa. And the idea, what Afrikaners will tell you is that it's the English guys that were all liberals. Yeah, this is not true. In rural areas like where I lived in a very small northern Natal town, and in fact I lived outside the town. But the rural English-speaking South Africans were mostly very conservative, you know. Whereas if you went to Johannesburg or even parts of Pretoria, which was the capital, quite a lot of urban Afrikaners were quite liberal themselves. I'm sorry, this is true. This is why when they had the referendum, every area except the one right up near the border with Zimbabwe at the time, where Kruger National Park is, that was the only area that voted no.
I really only know 2 things about South Africa, and they're very Mercian facts. Like, number one, it was the only place in the world where you could get a V8 powered Capri with a Cleveland V8, and the other is it says a lot about the country. For years, it was the only place in the world where you could get a fire, like a flamethrower installed as an anti-theft device.
I know. I've seen that. That's great. That is. I'd love one.
Aren't you really jealous?
I know. Yeah.
Mercian, I can tell you that if you look up Australia, there's a car called a Capri in Australian history. It's not the same Capri as they got in Britain, though. Totally different car. Totally different.
Yeah. The fabled Mark IV Capri, the convertible wedge-shaped one.
Yeah, that's the one. But yeah, South Africa's an interesting situation. As I say, I like South Africans, but I lived there for 15 years, so I got used to them. And they are much louder than Englishmen, but then nearly everyone's louder than Englishmen. I mean, one of the things I don't like about Englishmen is we're a bit too soft sometimes. By the way, we've lost Outman because Outman's a working dude and he has to get up early in the morning. So thanks for joining us, Outman. Yeah, it's an interesting situation. I certainly had to get a bit louder than I was initially when I went over there, and I wasn't a shy retiring little guy. I just left the infantry in the British Army. You know, I thought I was quite loud anyway. But you have to be a bit louder over there. But I would say, if you look at Americans, Canadians, Australians, even Kiwis, they tend to be a bit louder than English people for the most part. They just are. And I think it's got something to do with that living on the frontier thing. You know, England's been very tame for a long, long time. You know, and until recently, very safe. Until recently, but yeah.
Did you, you know, the Mandela effect, where lots of people remember something that turns out it wasn't true? Did you ever have that with Nelson Mandela, who was all named after? Because loads of people remember like news footage in South Africa of him dying in prison.
I never had that. I do remember when he admitted he was a terrorist before they locked him up. He didn't deny he was a terrorist. Didn't deny that he'd organised a bombing campaign, which he did, and killed not only women and children, but quite a lot of black people too.
Yeah, I was about to talk on it. I did quickly do a bit of reading about Nelson Mandela in university, and it strikes me how much there's kind of a George Floyd-esque, you know, put him on a pedestal, sort of like vibe about him from what I've read about him, especially all this terrorist activity.
He sounds like a black Jerry Adams, to be honest. In some regard, he has like this. I'm gonna be like the political face of the what the ANC armed wing
Umkhonto is Sizwe, the spear of the nation, supposedly.
Yeah, so what he did was he had the armed wing who would do all the terrorism, and then he will and with like his Winnie being like his wife being the sort of like the mouthpiece there. But then he would be
vile bitch. But he actually planned terrorist bombing campaigns. He was actually quite lucky not to be executed.
Yeah, and then he played like the black, as I said, like the black Jerry Adams, saying, "Oh no, I want peace. I want reconciliation. I want, I'm not. I'm actually not. I'm now representing the political side of change here, not through armed struggle." I mean, it was total nonsense.
Yeah.
It was all lies, basically. Like I said, when the referendum came around to vote on if they should do negotiations with the ANC, I voted no. A lot of people where I live voted no, but we weren't the majority, sadly, because they did it by province. And the people in Durban, particularly, where there's, which is actually an enormous Indian city as well, although they weren't allowed to vote in that referendum. The Africans hate the Indians more than they hate the white people, to be honest. The Zulus in particular.
I think it's the Chinese. I think the ANC sort of lifted their race restrictions for the Chinese, I think.
Could be. I have no idea. But the Indians and the Zulus don't get on at all.
Yeah.
Like the Zulus.
I think there's
frequently would rampage through Indian shopping areas and smash them up and loot everything.
I think there's some big, very wealthy Indian family in South Africa that control a lot of the sort of stuff going on.
Oh yeah, I can believe it. There's plenty of wealthy Indians in South Africa for sure. But but areas like Durban, which is where I ended up living before I moved, mainly because I was working in tourism by this stage. They were quite liberal. Pietermaritzburg, Greytown, that sort of areas, southern Natal, they were more liberal, I think. And so, the Natal, which by the way, was very British originally.
I'm looking, Iron Duke, at the breakdown of the National Party, which was the
Yep.
governing party before. And from 1914 to 1948, the ideology was white nationalism, Afrikaner nationalism, anti-British sentiment, Afrikaner minority interests, and then conservatism, republicanism, scientific racism, that sort of stuff. And then look, when you go between 48 to 90, you have again similar stuff: Afrikaner nationalism, national conservatism, social conservatism, apartheid, anti-communism. But then when you go from 1990 to 97, you have civic nationalism, South African nationalism, conservative liberalism, and neoliberalism.
Yeah, no, I could absolutely believe that. Someone saying the wine is good from South Africa. Yes, it is. Freedom-loving loyalists. How anti-Anglo were the Boers while you were in South Africa? Not particularly, most of them, and not to me. But then I was in the SADF, so although my soldiers were actually black guys, they weren't white soldiers.
Which member of our Indian political class came from South Africa? Was it Sunak, Braverman, Priti Patel? One of them.
I think Sunak was. I don't think it was South Africa, but it was one of the African countries. I think he.
Yeah, there was a Braverman. Sorry, not Braverman. Priti Patel was Ugandan.
Yeah. I think
the one with the fat-ass woman. She was Ugandan.
I think they all came from
Uganda,
some Africa. Yeah.
Yeah, mostly. Gandhi was in South Africa, wasn't he, for a bit of time?
Yeah, and during the Boer War, he was a volunteer stretcher bearer for the British. But he was also a very middle class lawyer. Like Gandhi used to pose as a fakir in a loincloth, but he was a very, very middle class lawyer. Really, it was all a con job.
Oh yeah, he was. He started his first political activism was it was representing Indians in South Africa, and he was like, "Oh, we're citizens of the empire as well. Citizens of the empire unite," and all that sort of bollocks. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah, the African National Congress was actually when it was set up in I think the late 1900s, early 1920s. I think it was the early 1920s. When it was set up, it was kind of modelled on the Indian National Congress. That's why it was called the African National Congress. But yeah, that's true. Mitch, did you have something you wanted to talk about?
Sorry, Mitch. I just want to say, Duke, it's so weird, listening to you talking about these elections and how, the Indians couldn't vote, the blacks couldn't vote and stuff. To us, younger people, it's so weird just hearing that in in living memory.
Well, yeah, but
that's just not that's not been our world, It's weird.
Hang on, guys. They did change it while I was in South Africa. Actually, they did change it in that Indians and coloured people are mixed race in South Africa. They're called coloured, but they're mixed race. Those guys were allowed to vote, but they could only vote for their own MPs because eventually the white government allowed a certain number of Indians and a certain number of coloured people, mixed race people, to sit in parliament. And they were allowed to vote for them.
Slippery slope, isn't it?
And then, of course, you had loads of these black homelands scattered around in South Africa. Lots of Zululand was a black homeland, although the Zulu politicians would never make it as independent as the white people wanted them to, the Afrikaner government. And in the black homelands, the black people ruled themselves how they liked, pretty much, and most of them were dictatorships. What a surprise! But there you go. But yeah, look, South Africa when I moved there in '85 was a damn good country. It was the first world country in Africa. They had all the brilliant wildlife, game reserves, and fabulous scenery, but the cities were modern Western cities. Now it's all falling to bits because the black government can't even maintain the infrastructure.
No.
I mean, when I was in school, and then bearing in mind this is like British education system under Blair, so
Yeah.
you can imagine how fucking cursed that was. We had in our English literature, we did like a whole section. I don't know if this is true now, but you had like a section on poems, and one was this poem by this black Zulu activist in South Africa, like from his childhood, because he was there when Mandela came in and all that, and so he was like very happy, excited, and then he was lamenting of how when after came in, actually nothing ever happened, like just nothing happened because the thing there is, it was like how before when you had the white government, he would go into out of like the sort of slum townships into like the city center, and he would see like these this great European city, and see all like this sort of fancy things, and it was a place where he couldn't afford to go into. And then when Mandela, the sort of promise of Mandela and everything, and then afterwards, basically saying, actually, just like nothing's changed, just like nothing's changed, and
well, the black people were foolish enough, many of them, and many of them weren't very well educated because the ANC came out with this slogan called "No education without liberation," and they burned down all the African schools. I saw schools that they'd burnt down in rural areas. So, like, basically, there was a whole generation of black kids who couldn't even basically read and write, or do basic maths, which made them pretty much unemployable. But the ANC didn't care about that, of course. But some of the stupider black people thought that once there was a black government, they'd all get big white style houses.
yeah,
where was the money coming from? The tax base of South Africa was always the white people. The Africans weren't taxed very much. Certainly, the vast majority of them weren't. I mean, a few of the richer ones, sure. But for the most part, they weren't taxed at all. There were also certain benefits for black single mothers and stuff like that, which was paid for by white people. And of course, all of that stopped when the ANC got in power, which led quite a lot of poorer black people after the ANC took over to say, we wish we'd like the white government back, please. But of course, by then it was far too late. It was gone. But yeah, look, I think the white government folded far too early. I think they could have held out for a long time longer than they did.
I mean,
the other thing that's worth mentioning is that under the white government, and also it's worth pointing out that the petty apartheid stuff, like separate toilets and separate seats on bus stops,
and beaches and and the beaches and all that sort of stuff.
All of that shit was got rid of in the either the late 70s or the early 80s. All of that petty stuff was got rid of quite early on. Years like when I moved there, most of it was gone already. But you still had unofficial stuff, like if you went to a hotel in a country town, there'd be a black bar and a white bar, but there'd also be a ladies' bar, which wasn't, by the way, a bar for ladies. It was a bar that women were allowed in, white women, I mean. But we used to have ladies' bars in Britain in the 50s. A lot of South Africa was very much like Britain in the 50s in the 1980s. It really was. One of the reasons why it was nice. But these acts thought that they were going to get all sorts of free stuff, and of course they haven't got any free stuff. And also because so many whites have left, Like the white population in South Africa now is a lot lower than it was in say 1990. The tax base is reducing all the time, so they've got less and less money to spend.
I think what's ridiculous is, particularly in that poem, is that he had this idea that he was going to inherit the European the European society that was built up. Because I think he lived like in the Cape, or in the South, so it would be like within like areas where white Europeans had settled, and he and his like family and tribe were going to inherit all of it, and it's just it was ridiculous to think of. Even I remember thinking to myself, like, hold on, you live in like a slum, you still have like your tribalistic stuff. Like, what do you mean you think you were going to inherit like this other culture that exists here? That's ridiculous.
You got to watch that documentary AI that I'm sure most people on here have watched. The one that's set in the Congo, I think, and it's the Chinese guy. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, he's the one that berates this African, saying you learn nothing.
Yeah.
That's what you learn nothing when you basically thrown all the knowledge that was passed down to you. You've learned nothing. What the hell's wrong with you?
They're driving along next to railways that don't work anymore, on highways with enormous potholes on that are never filled. And this Chinese guy just says to him, you had all this infrastructure and you just let it rot.
Yeah.
Because that's what Africans do. I'm sorry. They're doing the same thing in South Africa as we speak.
Have you seen the satellite map of a train station over South Africa? It shows like 30, 40 years of satellite images of this train station. You should watch all the trains slowly disappear.
Well, it's also like farms in Rhodesia or now Zimbabwe. I mean,
watch Callum's documentary when he went to Rhodesia. And when he goes to some of the railway stations and stuff, and all the trains are just wrecked and don't work anymore, and everything's fucked basically, because that's what apps do.
Yeah,
I mean, don't get me wrong, I quite like Africans in some respects, but not for running a country.
I mean, I had Rhodesian cousins. Well, they were English, but they lived in Rhodesia, and after Mugabe took over, it's just slowly, like, they just taking away bits of their farm because they had a big farm, and just every year you take a little bit off, and they didn't farm it. They didn't continue to farm it. It was all just given to someone in the government. His mate owned it then, and nothing happened. So you get famines.
Yes, whatever your name is in the chat, my microphone buzzes and I can't stop it. I'm sorry. I need to buy a new microphone, but I can't afford one at the moment. So in due course, I'll get it fixed.
Wasn't there a drive a few years ago to get white, white farmers to return to Zimbabwe?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, I think fuck that shit. I mean, what's the point? You can't trust that, can you?
Because it didn't work too well, I don't think.
I think it was the new guy after Mugabe died. I think he sort of was trying to get some Western money back in, but everyone's like, oh no.
I mean, what I will say, there was this weird ad that I saw on YouTube about properties in Zimbabwe, particularly like in rural, like the sort of like the wine country, in the part of it, and the you had like this American, like in this postmodernist sort of glass building, and she's like this white American, and it's like she's with these other white Americans, and it's like, we're going to move to Zimbabwe and we're being Zimbabwean, and it's like, oh my god, I hate the new Rhodesia. I hate it.
All right, guys, we've got a bit off topic, but I guess it was interesting.
Sorry,
Mitch, did you have something you wanted to talk about, mate? Because you've been very quiet for a while.
There's not much to talk about. I suppose talk about close to fuck bays in Iran, because last I heard, they were reversing some of the sanctions on Iran because basically Israel have been bombing Qatar, and like especially the natural gas field there, and they've just been bloodthirsty, and it's coming to a point where like Scott Bessent has had to revise the idea of sanctions because otherwise the price of oil will go up massively, and if that happens, MAGA will feel it.
Yeah.
I mean, and well, I will say one. I mean, MAGA is a complete cult. I mean,
are they, Mitch? Are they still talking about landing Marines and stuff there, or not?
Last I heard, they were.
Yeah, I've heard Trump's I've heard like some people from Trump administration they're talking about ground troops. So that talk is still.
I mean, which is funny because he assured me that they'd won already.
Yeah, I tell you, if they land Marines
and be Bessie
and put them on the ground there, they're going to start taking casualties, and Trump's base will go apeshit eventually.
Yeah, I mean,
it'd be like Anzo. It'll be like an Anzo operation.
I mean, you think so? Like the Iraq invasion, that was 150,000 men. They're trying to do this with 5,000, and they're going to be in a spot which is surrounded on all sides, and they were just going to get pummeled.
Yeah, they're gonna have drones and missiles landing on them from all over the fucking place. It's crazy.
It's mad. Mad.
It's like we talked about on my stream. What exactly is in it for America, really?
Yeah, I mean,
well, the Jewish lobby will like it. That's about the only thing in it for America.
I mean, Trump put out this tweet going, without the USA, NATO is a paper tiger. They didn't want to join the fight to stop a nuclear-powered Iran. Now that the fight is militarily won, capital letters, with very little danger for them, they complain about the high oil prices they are forced to pay. Thanks, Trump. But don't want to help open the strait. Hold on. But don't want.
If it's militarily won, why has America withdrawn their Arleigh Burkes out of the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah. But as goes, but they don't want to help open the Strait of Hormuz, a very simple military maneuver. That is the single reason for the high oil prices. So easy for them to do with so little risk. Cowards. And we will remember President Donald Trump, J. Trump. So you've already won, Trump. You've got this simple thing that to just open up the Strait of Hormuz. Why don't you do it? You're saying how you don't need anyone else's help, Captain Bone Spurs.
The U.S. Navy is withdrawn from the Strait of Hormuz.
Yeah, and the Gerald Ford carrier, that's still in the Red Sea. That was supposed to go around, but they seem to be afraid to go past Yemen because I'm sure the Houthis have all sorts of missiles planned. So it's just you're just looking so weak now. The US is, and again because I think Trump says all this shit. And then the army sort of comes and says, actually, that's going to be really messy. Like when he said, the US will just escort all the shipping through the Strait of Hormuz. And then he's told that's going to be a disaster. So then he goes, well, I think every other country should do it then. Because we've already won.
Well, Britain can't do it because we got no spare warships. So we can't do it.
Right. The Navy in this country is just a joke, isn't it?
Have you noticed, not to bring up the old dead horse again, but the Americans have this really interesting style where they'll engage in a conflict, and then on paper, to everyone with is half sentient, you would think, okay, well, they've sort of lost or they're losing that. But then they sort of spin it as a win. I mean, the most obvious one that I like to draw on is the 1812 war.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, yeah, we won. It's like, well, no, you didn't, because you didn't win Canada, and you actually got your capitals burnt down, your dockyards are a mess.
All of your objectives failed.
Yeah, half the country hates you.
There was an American dude on X who said, America helped Britain with intelligence when you invaded the Falkland Islands. So I replied to this dude and I said, well, first of all, we didn't invade the Falklands. We liberated them. They were British anyway. I said, second of all, you probably remember the Korean War when Britain was your ally. Gulf War One, Britain was your ally. Gulf War Two, Britain was your ally. Afghanistan, Britain was your ally. But then do you remember a thing called the Suez Crisis? That was my reply to that particular American.
Yeah. Apostolic Majesty had a good tweak. I think people were saying, "Will this be America's Suez?" And I actually he said no, this is going to be Israel's Suez. And I actually responded with that. I think an American Suez would be with China in the Pacific, possibly with Taiwan.
Yeah, maybe.
I actually don't know about that, AI. I think the Americans would have more success defending Taiwan than they will attacking Iran, because I don't think they had big plans to attack Iran. I think they were dragged into it by the Israel lobby, basically,
which is pathetic.
Can you think? I agree, but they have so much power in American politics.
I can't think of a way out that isn't just disastrous for America now in this. They could leave tomorrow, right?
Declare victory. We won. Leave. That's what.
Yeah,
do.
but it's going to. I don't think
no one's going to believe them. But it's the best thing they can do.
That's the thing. I can't see Trump doing that because he's got such an ego. And then of course the Israelis are going to throw a fit. So I can't. That's what he should do. That's what he should do. But I just can't see it happening because it's such. And it would just absolutely annihilate, America's position in the world.
The longer Trump stays here, stays attacking Iran, and if he starts putting Marines on the ground, it's just going to get worse and worse. There's no way it's going to get better.
I'm going to ask a stupid question now. What's in it for the Israelis exactly?
Some 2,000-year-old prophecy.
Yeah, and they don't want a nuclear Iran. Israel has nuclear weapons, of course, which they stole the plans for.
And for the American evangelical, more on Ted Cruz and those types. They're in for the prophecy stuff because they believe that they can, if they build the third temple, they can literally. This is not me. This is what they believe. They can con Jesus in returning. They can trick God in returning.
Yep, God will be fooled.
God will be fooled because the all-knowing, omnipresent that sees past, present, and future, exists outside time, will be confused by the likes of BB and Ted and Ben and libs of TikTok. I'm not joking.
I'm serious.
And that gay Southern senator who always has orgasms whenever American troops are killed.
So to put this in an atheistic way for me, this would be like America siding with Scientology against their enemies because their enemies are stopping them from getting to planet Xenu.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, well, as long as we're all both on the same page about that, then.
Yeah.
There's not. It's a bit like the Ukrainians can't win the war against Russia. Okay, they don't have the manpower, they don't have the weapons, they don't have the ammunition. They just don't. All right, Mitch is gone as well. He's another guy who's got to get up early in the morning. Although in Mitch's case, he's probably chasing goth girls or something like that. But
don't blame him.
Yeah. No, I don't blame him either. No.
Let them chase you, mate. That's
yeah, that's the best idea, is make them chase you. But yeah, it's a bit like Ukraine can't win that war. It's like Western nations seem to be under the impression that they can get into wars that they can't win.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy to me. It just is. It's ridiculous.
It's that it's always that, and this is old, ancient philosophy. You can start wars whenever you want, but finishing them, that's a lot harder.
Well,
Yes.
that's what I mean. They're going to pull. I guarantee you they will pull in 1812,
Yeah.
probably after a big disaster on their end, and just go, "Oh look,
Yeah.
we won here. We won
I'm
the
sure
war,
they will,
guys. Yeah, job done. We won."
I mean,
Well,
I mean,
look. Let's remember in the 1980s, I think it was, they sent a load of U.S. Marines to Lebanon. Yeah.
mhm,
And the French sent some troops, and even Britain sent some troops. I remember our guys were getting in firefights there, but we were at least sensible enough not to send too many. And a massive great bomb killed hundreds of American Marines, or scores anyway. They had battleships, like World War II battleships, firing 16-inch shells into the hills and all this stuff. But after the bombs went off and all these poor bloody Marines got killed, the Americans just pulled out. And of course,
mhm.
when the Americans pulled out, the British and French also pulled out.
Well, same in
So
Somalia.
this is
Same in
yeah,
yeah.
Somalia, same point,
Yeah.
same thing.
Yeah.
Vietnam, I mean, the Americans. Afghanistan, dare I say it, after 20 fucking years
Yeah.
of poor bastards being killed for nothing,
Like
pulled out.
we had this we've had this chat with Bree, and it's like, what was I get why she wants to think like there was some point in it, all of this, but you went to Afghanistan, thousands of soldiers died, to what, remove the Taliban? Well, who's in charge now? The Taliban.
Well, yeah, I mean, even looking at it from a British point of view, almost 700 guys were killed in Iraq and in Afghanistan, British guys, for absolutely jack shit. And thousands more were wounded, and many of them were like really badly maimed, like they lost limbs and legs and what have you. And all for absolutely nothing.
At least you could say over 100+ years ago, it was defending the border of the empire. At least you could say that.
Yeah.
You couldn't say that because, in the most recent conflict.
No, because do we care if Afghanistan invades Pakistan? I certainly don't.
No, let them battle it out for all I care.
Do any of you guys really care about Iran getting a nuke? Because I don't think Iran are nearly as crazy as they're made out to be by people who are, like we just discussed, far more crazy.
I think Iran wants a nuke because if Iran has a few nuclear weapons, Israel can't bomb them.
Yeah,
because they can threaten Israel. And say, if you bomb us, we'll nuke you.
I think.
And what are the Israelis going to do? Nuke them back, and that really would be the so-called Samson option that Israel talks about.
Israel is the only place mad enough that I can see just going, nuke us, we don't care. But I mean, you've still got you've got Pakistan, North Korea with nukes. They haven't done anything.
Well, because if you start a nuclear war,
exactly,
it only takes one warhead, and you could literally get Armageddon.
Yeah,
because there are so many nuclear weapons in the world.
There are two things to talk about with nuclear weapons. You're talking about range and yield as well.
Mm-hmm.
And if for example, if Iran, if we got an Iran shit list and they're wanting to fire a nuke towards us for whatever reason, it's sort of like, well, one, do they have the capability to launch a nuclear and to reach Britain?
Mm-hmm.
I very much doubt it, Mercy, and I think if Iran gets if they get a nuclear weapon, they'll be able to hit Israel, and that's all they care about.
No, Duke, Reese today, if you have not seen the story, that is the argument that's been made for. You've been in the papers today because you had 2 missiles that were, well, supposedly, whether it's true or not, it seems a bit. I do have my questions on this at the base in Diego Garcia, which is around the same length
British
as
Indian Ocean territory, yeah, the
yeah,
one
yeah,
Starmer's trying to give away, yeah.
the
And
Chagos.
pay to give away, by the way. But yeah, it's maybe, but I doubt it personally. I really do.
I
And
just
also, don't forget that I reckon Iran might well have drones that could fly that far, but you can't really put a nuclear weapon on a drone unless it's a very big one.
I mean, the main thing for me is I just don't think they're as crazy as sort of. I just don't think they're that crazy. I think like the Americans and the Israelis are way more crazy.
Yeah, I think that Iran wants a nuclear weapon for defensive
obviously.
purposes because it would protect them from Israel,
Yeah.
basically.
I mean, like Poland and I think Germany. I think they were talking about they want to get their own nuclear deterrence now, and America, of course, goes, "Ho, hold on, no, you don't. You're not allowed that."
Wouldn't want the Poles getting them, I gotta
No.
say. I wouldn't trust the Poles as far as I could throw them, to be honest. Be like giving them to Ukrainians. I mean, yeah, there's World War III straight away. But no. But yeah, it's personally. I mean, we've lost Mitch, and this was his topic. But I think the Americans would be wise to get out sooner rather than later. But that's just me, and that's not what they're going to do.
It's like I've said, it's torching the American right completely. And
it will, because the MAGA crowd voted for America first and no more forever wars. Yeah, they don't want American boys dying in the Middle East.
Nope.
This is one of the things that we in Britain, particularly the British right, I see quite a lot of anti-Americanism in the British right. And I think it's entirely justified if you're talking about the US Congress or even Donald Trump.
I mean, we're always talking about the government mainly.
Yeah, but the ordinary American people are not interested in American boys dying in Iran. They're not. Yeah. There's no support for it at all that I can see.
And we know that the and we know that this government isn't for American people. It's for people. It's for Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, Laura Loomer, and all those that crowd. It's for them. It's not for the American people.
The
Israel lobby, basically.
Yeah, it's the true MAGA, according to Trump.
Yeah.
Well, Trump is married into that particular religion.
I know.
Yeah. True. All right, guys, we've been going well over 2.5 hours. Mercian, would you like to plug your channel?
Oh, yes, please. So, yeah, if you'd like to subscribe to my channel, I do a stream called Anglo Opinions. I have Tharian and Aubrey on every week, and we get some guests on and have a fun little natter about news and fun little articles we come across.
Tharian, anything you want to plug, mate?
That what Mercian just said.
All right, good. AI, would you like to plug your channel?
Yeah. So
is it still William Grenville, by the way, AI?
I might have to change it. So my Twitter has been it's been basically.
Oh yeah,
hacked.
I saw that. Yeah, that's no good. I saw your Twitter was hacked. I put the message that Aaron Hook put up. I put that up on my channel.
Yeah, I have been exiled from my Twitter account. It's been hacked and taken over by evil colonists, and I'm now like a nomad sort of thing. And so I've had to create like a new sort of Twitter thing. And to be honest, I might just go back to AI Shire Tory. That was the original brand. It's the OG stuff. I'm going to go back to that. And
it's just that people tend to. People who don't know you tend to put you in with idiots like Harrion when you've got that name. That's the only problem you have there, I'd say. AI.
Yeah, maybe I'll do like AI Shire 0 seats tour. I don't know.
What about AI Restoria?
AI Restore might work. Yeah, that could work.
AI Restore. AI Shire Restore, something like that.
Or AI Restore Britain or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, AI Restore. Yeah, I could do something. It's just that I don't know, because when I lost that and everything, I actually thought to myself, well, let's just go back to what I was, because I tried, the thing is, I tried the path of like having a name, dropping the anon stuff, and and do you know what was funny? Is when I created my new account, thanks to the help with a bit of Aaron Hook and everything, my new Twitter account isn't full of like bollocks. It actually is full of like people who, when I follow, like you guys and other guys and stuff, I actually see like their stuff. Now I've got like the clear pill of like zero slop. I'm like Theoden King, in who's just had his successful exorcism by Gandalf, and I'm sort of reverting to back to what I should be, and it's Saruman's out of my head now. So
Yeah, the only slop I get on my X account is Reform UK shit, basically. But that's because I used to follow quite a lot of them. Guys, we got two. I was just going to say I'll let you talk, Mercy, but we have got two super chats, one of which we need to address. But Mercy, you carry on.
I was just going to say I've seen you react to some of the Restore sort of cultists on X, and some of the things I've seen.
You mean Reform? Mercy.
Yeah, the Reform. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
I am having the same problem. I mean, obviously I'm Restore all the way, but having two parties starting with ours can get very confusing at times.
Yeah. I lots of people make that. I see.
Remember, it's Reform UK and Restore Britain. And Restore Britain's a lot more based. Yeah, guys, we've got a couple of super chats. First one's from Gearin for $5 and he just says hello. Gearin is a regular supporter of the channel, so thank you very much, Gearin. That's much appreciated. And then we have another super chat from Sheev Palpacringe for $5, and he says, just remember, support your in-group preference. And even if they wanted to resurrect the Royal Navy, I don't think they would know how to proceed for future naval conflicts anyway, from what it sounds like. They're out of touch with reality. I think the British Royal Navy knows still what sort of ships they need. Like the Type 26 frigates, the new ones they're building, are going to be the best anti-submarine frigates in the world. Like better than anybody else's, including the Americans, the Chinese, and what have you. But we're only ordering 6 of them, and the Royal Navy needs at least 12. And they're such good ships that not only are the Royal Australian Navy going to build them, but the Royal Canadian Navy's building them, and the Norwegians want some as well. They're going to be very good ships. So I think if the will was there to rebuild the Royal Navy, they could do it. But they have to have the will, and obviously, two-tier Keir Starmer and the Labour Party are never going to do that. I have my doubts that Reform UK would either, but Restore Britain might eventually.
Yeah. Well, it's like go back to the Cameron delusion. He wanted us to have the carriers which were integrated with the French Navy and other European navies. All that entire way of thinking must be just kicked to the curb, and you just have to get rid of those sorts of that mindset of people, because what is it you're doing? They are forcing a position where you have an integrated European Navy, where the Royal Navy of Britain and Navy of other countries just cease to exist in its one umbrella.
What happens when we have to go and defend the Falkland Islands again? Do you reckon the French and the Germans and the Spanish are all going to go down there? Because I don't.
Well, the Spanish certainly won't.
Of course, no, none of them will.
No. I mean, the
Yeah.
French are more likely. The French are more likely to fund the Argentinians
Yep.
again. To be honest, but
Well, dude, let's remember who produced the Exocet missile that sank one British warship and one British merchant ship in the Falklands War. French Exocet missiles and French aircraft that were firing them. So yeah.
Well, there wouldn't have if Britain was still a member of the EU. They wouldn't have defended the Falklands, even if they
No,
even if they
not
thought to
at all.
consider it a European territory.
No,
Mhm.
not at all.
and NATO and NATO. I mean, technically, when Argentina invaded, we were a NATO country. A NATO
Yeah.
country was attacked.
I honestly think that one of the things that Trump has done that in the long run is probably going to be a good thing is I think that Trump has fatally weakened NATO.
Oh yeah.
And it's been even more weakened by its complete failure in Ukraine.
Yep.
You know,
And
basically
now,
all of NATO has been supplying the Ukrainians with weapons and ammunition, and it has not
Yeah.
been anywhere near enough, and they just
And-
keep losing.
and now in Iran too. So, like, you know, I think it's a disaster for the Americans, but as someone
I
who
mean,
wishes to be free of the American empire, I'm kind of liking it.
as we speak tonight, gentlemen, as we've been speaking tonight over the last couple of hours, I am seeing that Israel, particularly Israel, have been hit pretty hard
Yeah.
by missile and drone, mainly missile attacks. And the problem is that their Iron Dome system, which is to intercept them in the past,
Mhm.
it looks like that they may have gone through
Yeah.
over the last few weeks the bulk of their
They're running out of missiles.
yeah,
I
and
mean-
now that they're basically getting the blitz treatment.
I mean, like one of the Iranian officials, they were saying, you know, we've barely scratched our reserves of missiles and drones, and yeah, maybe they're exaggerating a bit, but I think they're probably correct on that. You know, they've been
Yeah.
preparing for ages for this. They've got,
Yeah.
you know, they have the benefit of just having one enemy. You know, it's Israel and America. That's all you need to focus on, and they've just been building up. They dug them deep underground.
Also,
Yeah.
I think Iran is getting supplies from outside. I don't think the
Yeah.
Russians are sending
Yeah.
them all that much because the
Yeah, it's gonna
Russians
start.
need the Russians need their stuff for Ukraine.
That's the other thing, because
So-
the
It's
old
China, isn't it?
But the Chinese will be sending the
Well, that's
Iranians
the
stuff
thing.
for sure.
The old Ayatollah, he was very much Iranian only. Like he refused help from outside of Iran because it just, I don't know, he's like that. I don't think the new lot care. They just, if Russia and China want to give us stuff, we'll take it.
Now, Bede is a good person on this, but if you actually look at the history of particularly the Islamic Revolution in '79,
Yeah.
everyone sort of thinks, oh, it's just like an Islam, like the basic sort of like normie thing is the Islamist regime and that's it. It is, but the actual thing is, it is because of its Shia Islam, it is actually quite Persian nationalistic. There was a it was a book actually that was talking about when the Ayatollah Khomeini, the first one, when he was returning to Iran, he was asked by some of his acolytes when they were flying over the city of Persepolis, you know, what do we do about, like, you know, these relics of the pre-Islamic Persia? And he was like, keep it, it's a source of pride of our people.
Yeah.
You know, even, you know, that's why they even to this day they have like a Zoroastrian style
Yeah.
festival in Iran. They gather outside the tomb of Cyrus the Great. You know, they engage in a lot of, and this is like this is under the current Islamic regime. It is nationalistic. It's not. It's not like some. And this is quite funny because Shia Islam is actually quite. I mean, before the revolution, the problem it had is it was very universalist. It didn't actually believe, or it didn't follow. It didn't believe in really of a concept, in more extreme versions of it, a concept of a nationhood sort of thing, as like a state, and the way that this was sort of in Iran anyway. That the way the Ayatollahs sort of got around it, and the mullahs was saying, well, we will burden the concept of statehood which is sort of how they rationalized, you know, how they can function going forward. But and this is the problem: when you bomb a country, there was this bizarre idea that, well, that they'll rise up and everything against them. But when your country's under attack, it actually brings people together.
Yeah.
It does bring people together.
Also, AI, no war has ever been won by air power alone. No war.
No.
I mean,
you always need naval and ground forces if you're going to win a war.
Like, we tried it in the Second World War. You know, I guess, you know, it's new. Let's see, can we do this? I get them, like, at the time they were thinking, well, can we? And turns out you can't. So that's not changed at all.
Yeah, the gigantic fleets of RAF Lancasters and Halifaxes and American B-17s and Liberators bombing the shit out of Germany for years. And in the end, you still needed British, Canadian and American forces to go and invade the bloody place.
I have seen
air power won't do it on its own.
I have seen some people recently point to Hiroshima, Nagasaki. I mean, first off, they're nukes. That's a bit different. And also, that was in addition to the land forces that were coming to invade Japan.
And also the British and American naval task forces.
Yeah, exactly.
Sailing at will around Japan and bombing the shit out of them from carriers. Yes, there was, and also, of course, the giant campaigns on places like Iwo Jima and the British beating the fuck out of the Japanese in Burma, etc. I mean, you know, there was plenty of land fighting.
I mean, you had in the Pacific, yes, you had naval and air battles, you know, Midway and stuff like that. That's like a sort of memorable one, but it also was then followed with a lot of island hopping.
Mm-hmm.
Island hopping.
And the big, and of course the Soviets also invaded Manchuria right at the end of the war, and also, of course, Britain in Burma inflicted the largest defeat the Imperial Japanese Navy ever had on land, and that was land fighting. That was the British 14th Army, you know.
Yeah, Kohima. I mean, people think. I mean, this is when we did our stream on Kohima. I mean, what was it? It was over. What was it, like 600,000 to 800,000 Japanese?
Yeah, it was Kohima and Imphal, which were the two main battles. But then, of course, the British 14th Army chased the Japanese all through Burma, and many of the poor bloody Japanese died of starvation and all sorts of things. And yeah, it was a really big land campaign. Yeah, very successful in the end as well.
One of my grandfathers was a part of that.
Yeah, Bill Slim was probably the best British general of World War II. I rate him much more highly than Montgomery myself, but yeah.
Yeah, so same as well. Yeah, my grandfather, as we mentioned, was a major in the.
Mine was a major too.
A lot of majors in the army, guys. It's field officer rank, you know.
He was.
All right, guys.
He was 26, I think, 26 or 27.
Yeah, there you go. If you in these days, if you're a major, you're probably well into your 30s these days.
Yeah.
If you're a major, because you know promotion was a lot quicker in wartime.
Yeah.
But all right, guys, we've been getting on for 3 hours now, so I think we might call it quits. I mentioned Beta Britannia. We had Beta Britannia on last week specifically to talk about Iran, and I will see if he's available for next week so he can talk about Iran, because he is definitely our specialist on my Discord for that part of the world. So we'll try and get Beta on for next week. Thank you very much to my guests, Adaman and Mitch, to Mercian, Tharium, and of course AI Shayatori 2.0. I will put links up to Mercian and Shayatori's. Oh, and I need to mention, of course, that Mitch now has a YouTube channel. He's covering the American Civil War at the moment. He's done 2 episodes on Stonewall Jackson. I joined him on the first one. I missed the second one because I didn't get up early enough to do it. I overslept. But he's going to carry on with some of the other generals in the American Civil War, and I will put a link to Mitch's channel as well under the video later on. Please like the stream if you haven't already done so. It really does help the channel. And in the meantime, we'll be back on Wednesday with a history stream. Don't know what we're going to be doing yet. And don't let the bastards grind you down. Check you later, guys.